Unlucky in Love. My Autobiography. By R Kumar. Kumar's Love Life series developed by Ravikiran. Copyright R Kumar. Email ravi_kp_com@yahoo.com. admin@ravikirantechnosoft.in. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, transmitted, or stored in a retrieval system, in any form by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording or otherwise, without the author's prior permission. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, locales and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. This book is sold subject to the condition that it shall not, by way of trade or otherwise, be lent, resold, hired out or otherwise circulated, without the publisher's prior consent, in any form of binding or cover other than that in which it is published. This book is dedicated to all my friends who have helped in writing this book, and also to my family who supported me and gave their invaluable opinions and ideas for the story. And to Ravikiran for creating Kumar's Love Life series. Index. Preface. Part 1. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8. Part 2. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, Chapter 10. Part 3. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Part 4. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Part 5. Chapter 1. Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Part 6. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9 to be continued. Preface. My name is Kumar. It is now the year 2021. I am 56 years of age and a successful businessman with a good reputation in our circles. We are all affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The second phase of virus infections is coming down. We are all affected by it and keep it at home. I sat on the bed thinking, what have I achieved during my lifetime? I wanted to write my autobiography. I set up a recorder with my laptop and started recording my life story. Part 1. My entry into Bombay. Chapter 1. I was born in Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh in 1964. Most of my childhood I spent there. I was born in the middle class, with the bare necessities. We did not even have a fan. Forget about other items like TV, fridge or washing machine, which have become necessities of the middle class nowadays. By today's standards, we would come under poor people. We did not have toys, so we went to the dump yard to get the useless items and build things from them. Once we found a broken children's tricycle. It did not have a front wheel. We used it as a plaything. We brought some glass pieces and made a kaleidoscope. We used to collect small wheels and made a handstick with wire and hook at the start and used to play pushing the wheel without letting it fall. We used creative ways to play games. Most of my studies there were in aided schools in Telugu medium. I hardly had spoken English knowledge and Hindi is out of 20 out of 100 passing subjects. I am quite intelligent. If I had tested my IQ it would be in the range of 200. I used to read textbooks or notes once before exams and I used to get good grades. I had good memory power and an analytical and logical mind. Reading was my passion. I have read a lot of books, starting with children's books. When I was allowed into my father's office library, I read literally every book available there. From science and technology to Perry Mason and James Hadley Chase. My favorite is Guy de Maupassant. His short stories book. My father had greatly influenced me in life. One is on the thread and the other is on the necklace. My father gave me some tips in maths and English, which helped shape my future in my studies. I used to have a crush on a girl in my 10th grade. She was good looking and smart person and used to get the first grade in the class. I used to compete with her in my studies. When in the tuition the girls and boys were sitting in separate rooms and sir used to sit in between. I used to sit beside sir and she was sitting perpendicularly opposite. I used to complete whatever sir gave us and look towards her. She got school first in the SSC exams and her name was put on the board. I studied up to first year intermediate at Vijayawada, and when my father transferred to Bombay, I caught Konark Express and landed in Bombay in the summer of 1981. Chapter 2. Due to changing of state, I couldn't get admission in 12th standard in Bombay. I joined a diploma course on accountancy. There I met a Gujarati guy. His name was Kurat. His father was an accountant and also deals in stocks and securities. Later on, his father used to give me some accounting work to do and I used to earn pocket money. Kurat took a liking to me and made me his friend when I joined the course. He used to have a lot of friends. Once, to take revenge on some student, he locked him in the toilet. That boy broke the glass on the door. The management fined both the students. He just paid and came out. But he never showed his anger. And we became thick friends in no time. In the evenings he used to take me to have snacks. I was not having any money, only my railway pass and bus fare. He was well off and had a lot of cash with him. During the exams, he used to call me to his house for combined studies. Rather, it is for me to coach him on the tough subjects. As I was not fluent in Hindi, I could teach him in English, as all the subjects were in English. He was not fluent in English as he transferred from Baroda. This coaching went on until he had completed his degree. Once he took me to watch Aliens movie. On the way we had cigarettes. Another time he took me to watch Amitabh's movie Yarana. When his parents were away he called me to his house. We had some liquor and cigarettes and enjoyed the night. Once I went to his house. He was not at home. I went in and sat on the bed. His cousins have come from Ahmedabad. His older cousin came and sat on the sofa opposite me. She lifted her legs and folded them under her. She was wearing a frock. When she was lifting her leg, I could see her panty. After some time, she got up and went into the kitchen and came back with some vegetables to cut. She sat on the sofa and again sat folding her legs under her. I could see her panties. This went on for some time. She used to get up and come back and sit again putting her legs under her and I could see her panties. Once he took me to Baroda for his exams. He had to write some exams and get a certificate, so he can complete his studies in Bombay. He had two brothers there, one elder and one younger. After reaching there, we put our bags and freshened up. He said let us go and meet some friends. We took cycles and rode for 20 minutes and reached a place. As it was lunchtime, they made kachadi and added some ghee to it and gave it to us. After ghee, they gave some buttermilk to eat with kachadi. After lunch, he took us to the fields, where his friends brought us some toddy to drink. Kurat said he will just back and go away. He came back after an hour with a smirk on his face. From his expression, it seems he went and met some girl. Kurat had a girlfriend and we used to visit her in her home after we finished our course at the institute. After he completed his degree, I started my job. We started moving apart. I used to visit him once in a while. He used to come to our home for functions. Chapter 3. We had a neighbor family from the Himachal region. They were staying on the ground floor and were on the first floor above them. The father was in telecom department and the mother was a housewife. They had two sons, one oldest and one youngest, and two daughters. Rakshmi is the eldest daughter and was of medium height, fair and petite. Dharani is the younger daughter and was a little plump, fairer than her sister and more beautiful. Everybody called her D. I had my eyes on D1 from the time I went to Bombay. The youngest son was in 8th standard then. His name is Surender Suri. His mother asked me to teach him maths as he was poor at maths. I agreed and used to go to their home for giving maths tuition to him. D used to go to typing in the evenings. I used to be ready myself and wait on the steps waiting for her to come out of her house to go to typing, and then go teach her brother. Daily, I tried to match the colors of her dress with my dress. If she wears green, I used to wear green, if blue then blue. I used to have a sixth sense of what she is going to wear that day. After finishing tuition, I used to go for a walk and D would be coming from the opposite direction. We would cross each other and speak with our eyes. This went on for more than a year. One day, I was waiting for D on the steps for her to go. Someone saw me from the terrace of another building, flying kites. After tuition, I went to bring kerosene from the ration shop. While returning, he stopped me on the road turn. He caught my collar and was saying something as if D is his girlfriend. Enraged by his actions, I put down the kerosene and started punching him with my fists. He let me go and I calmly picked up the kerosene and reached home. After reaching home, I told my mom that someone had attacked me. My mother came out and started blasting the people. The neighbors also came to her support and the man was never seen around again. When the exams time came, Rashmi asked me to take her to the exams hall to verify the venue before the day of the exam. It was far away and I had a railway pass for the route. I have my institute in the same area. I took her there first by bus and then we caught the local train. Throughout the journey, we sat side by side. We went to the exam hall by asking people and shopkeepers along the way. When we reached there, we found that it was not her exam hall and she had mistakenly thought that it was her center. We came back by auto first, then took the train and walked to her college. There she noted the correct center and told me she could go there tomorrow. We walked back to the bus stand and took a bus back home. Next year Rashmi asked me to teach her. We used to sit in the hall as I used to teach Suri. When he reached 10th standard, he used to tell all about the neighborhood. We used to play badminton. He with his sisters, his brother, another neighbor. We all used to play badminton on the road opposite our house. We put up some lights, so we can play at night also. With Suri's acquaintances, we started to form a cricket group. For Rashmi tuition, we used to sit opposite each other with a teapot in between. Rashmi finished her 12th. Next year D joined 11th standard college. After some time, she asked me to teach her accounts. I used to teach the Suri in the hall. To teach D they gave us a room. There was a table in the corner. We used to sit in an L shape. I used to sit on one side. D used to sit on the left to me. Our knees used to touch. Sometimes, I felt like fingering her legs. She did not seem to mind my leg touching her. But I could never take the courage to try something with her. Maybe she never gave those signals. She mostly wore gowns of knee-length or skirts and tops. The family were of modern beliefs. They never objected to our sitting or the way I behaved with her while teaching. I used to teach her in a fun way, making jokes, if she made any mistake, and generally flirting lightly with her. I taught her for 2 years. One day the mother called me and said there is no more need to teach her. Rashmi was telling me that I should look for a nice girl to marry, etc. Nothing went into my mind. I turned around and came out of their house. The next day she was sent away for nursing training. Later on, I came to know that she was interested in a boy, so they sent her away. Next year she was married. She had previously been interested and reception was organized outside the house. My brother was arranging the lighting and asked me for help, otherwise, I might not have gone. I helped him with his instruments and later served in the reception. I was so tired after the reception, I had to take painkillers for getting sleep. I saw her once while coming from the station on the walk. She has put on weight and was struggling with a girl of 2 years. She did not look at me and I did not approach her. So, this way the story ended with her. It seems their family thought I was in love with her and would be heartbroken. So, they were giving advice. It was just a crush for me and being with her is enough for me. At least for some years, I had a fun time being with her. Later the family went away to their own house at Mira Road. We shifted to a better part of the colony. Chapter 4. Once I was in Vijayawada, I received news of my cousin's sister's wedding. We went to the village for the wedding on my uncle's scooter. My mother and sister went with the bride. My father went to Bombay. We came back to Vijayawada. There I went to meet my friend Srinu. We were friends from intermediate college days. Srinu said Sneha was asking about me and wanted to meet me. I asked him to get details on where and when to meet her. She used to stay one street over. If we both came to our terraces, we could see each other. We were in the same college. Our grandfather had a clinic on their street. I used to go to the clinic and she used to come over and we used to sit and chat at the clinic. I used to tell her about astrology and I used to read her palm and tell her things. After 1 year of college, I had to go over to Bombay after my first year and at that time she went away for the summer holidays. I could not tell her about my moving to Bombay. The next time I went over there they shifted house and I could not see her again. After 2 days of me meeting him, he gave me an address and a time. I went there. She was waiting for me. She said it was her friend's room and she asked her friends to come later. She was telling me that from her college days she used to like me. She could not tell me at that time and scolded me for moving away without informing her. She did not have the time to tell me earlier and kept it in her heart. Now her parents are fixing a match for her and were not listening to her to postpone for some time. She wanted to tell me this before her marriage. I explained to her, I am in no position to marry her. I have not settled down, and had no fixed income. I could not marry her at that juncture. I don't know if I was in love with her. She said, she understood all that and she wanted to have a final and parting gift from me. That is the reason she called me to meet. She explained what she needed. As it was in my power to give them what she needed and I agree with her request. I made her happy by giving her what she needed. After that, I took her leave and went away and I have not heard from her again. Chapter 5. After completing the diploma course, I took a break of 3 years while I was working and also trying for CA. Then I joined the degree course. I have written my entrance exams and I went to my paternal aunt's place. It was custom to treat paternal uncle's daughters and maternal aunt's daughters to treat as sisters and to treat paternal aunt's daughters and maternal uncle's older daughters as sisters-in-law and younger ones to treat as future wives and flirt with them. If we don't flirt with them they may take offense to that. Flirting with them is a birthright for us. My aunt has one son and one daughter younger than me. We were all sleeping in a single room. I was sleeping on the cot and beside my aunt's son was sleeping. My aunt was sleeping on an easy chair at my legs. Her daughter was sleeping parallel to my bed on the floor. When I was awakened in the middle of the night by a touch on the hand, I looked out and I dropped my left hand below. It touched her chest. She was wearing a half sari with a blouse. Her blouse's top 2 buttons were already open. I fingered her for some time. The next day she was sleeping on the floor, perpendicular to me, her legs towards me. After some time, she put her foot on the side rail near my shoulder. When turning over my hand touched her feet. I was slightly awakened by the touch. She was sleeping soundly, at least it seemed. Her breathing was rhythmic. All in all, it seemed she was oblivious to my touch. I stretched my hand and put my hand on her thigh. She has not shown any reaction. I fingered her for some time. I let her go and went back to sleep. I never imposed on anyone. If anyone said no to me and I wouldn't force myself on them, I would keep away from them. Neither did I try to do any kind of forceful behavior toward any girl or woman. If they are responsive to me then only I talked to them. If anyone showed any kind of repulsive attitude, I kept away from such people. There are always some with high attitudes who look down upon other people as insects. I always kept away from them, keeping them at arm's length. Never approached them. I was always cordial with girls. I had the tag of a best-behaved boy in our relatives. Once when I went to my cousin's wedding, a girl came and asked can she sit with me as she does not know anybody else and I was brother relation to her and she took her parents' permission. Throughout the marriage, she sat with me and was with me a full day even for lunch and dinner. I am a very likable person. People easily confided in me. They tell me their problems and ask me for advice. Mostly they follow my advice and are relieved from their troubles. I had developed a kind of sixth sense and always listened to my thoughts. Especially with regards to the girls. Chapter 6. It was 1985. I was in Hyderabad for joining degree college, and one of my pen pals Sheena asked me to meet her. Sheena asked me to meet her at a theater. I waited for some time. Sheena has not come to meet me. I looked around. No one seems to be interested in me. Sheena had my photo and I have not seen her. I decided to go have some tea, found a restaurant and sat down, had my daily cup of tea and came out. Then she with her friend approached me saying that she was scared that I went away. She was watching me from a little distance. I said I am just having a cup of tea. So, she and her friend, made introductions. Sheena was a little fair, around 5 feet with a pleasant face. Her friend was a little dark. They took me to another theater in an auto. I was sitting in the center in the auto rickshaw, and the 2 girls were sitting on each side. She took the tickets and we went inside and sat down. The girls were sitting on either side. Now I was in a dilemma. which of the girls was my real pen pal. I touched each of them in turn. Their reaction was the same. So, I decided both the girls have come with the same thought of having some fun. It does not matter who is who. Each of the girls I fingered for a little while. After the movie they wanted to have dosa. They took me to Koti, where they had dosa and I had ice cream. We have dosas regularly and they don't. Then they asked what is next. I said close by I have a room, we can go there. They have agreed to come with me. We took an auto and reached my room. It has a separate side entrance so as not to disturb the other tenants and it is filled with bachelors. We went inside the room and I had my first threesome with the girls. I was a little partial to the fair girl, who was my pal, and I have not left the dark girl wanting for anything. I gave them what they came for and after that, I dropped them at the bus stop. Chapter 7. I used to have some pen pals with some girls and boys. Whenever the girls asked, I sent them my photos. The boys never asked for photos. They want other information, like how were the girls in Bombay, how to follow girls and what needs to be done to get closer to the girls. I am photogenic and looked better in the photo than actually I am. I was 22 at the time. Nandini from Guntur was my pen pal, and we used to write regularly to each other and kept in regular touch. It was 1986. I just wrote my first-year degree exams in Hyderabad and was planning to go to Vijayawada. She wrote to me to come to meet her when I was in Vijayawada. I asked her for a place and time. She wrote to me to come to Guntur bus stand at 11 a.m. I went to Guntur by bus from Vijayawada, stepped down at the bus stand and Nandini was waiting for me. She recognized me from the photo I sent her. She was wearing churidar pajama of good quality. She was slender, reasonably fair and good-looking. She was almost beautiful and had clear skin and no makeup. She was likable on the first look. She seemed to have come from a well-off family. Her father was in some business. She wrote to me. She took me on the bus to the Krishna riverfront. The bus journey was horrible. The roads were full of path holes and the bus was moving from side to side or jumping up and down. I rather enjoyed the journey with her, holding her hand, touching one another's shoulders, touching each other's thighs. This went on for some 20 minutes. Then after getting off the bus, we sat in a boat and crossed over to an island. There we sat in an isolated place. She was saying lovers come here to spend time, hinting that she wants to spend time there as lovers would do in those circumstances. We talked and chatted for some time. She brought some chocolates and poppins. Finding no one around, I placed my hand on her hand. She responded positively. She gave me some poppins to eat. She said she likes to eat chocolates and does not eat anything else. I asked her, "You don't eat food?" She said yes. I thought she was fooling me. I was sitting facing sideways from her. I went and sat beside her. Slowly I turned and kissed her on the cheeks. She responded by turning her face towards me. Then I kissed her on the mouth. I touched her boobs over the dress. She flinched a little. We spent some time like this there. After some time, we came back to the riverfront and took the boat and came to the order side of the river and back to the bus stand by catching a bus. We said goodbyes there and I returned to Vijayawada. Another girl from Vijayawada, Rajaswari, also wrote to me to meet at 6 p.m. on another day at the railway reservation counter. I asked my friend to come with me. He said he had some work. I asked my uncle to come with me. He said you can go yourself. I went alone to the railway station, crossed over by the pedestrian crossing and went to the reservation counter. I waited for half an hour. No one approached me. I made a round of the reservation counter. In one place I stopped and looked up. On the first floor some girls were standing talking among themselves. They were wearing half saris. They have not shown any interest in me. Again, I made a round of the complex. After 5 minutes they went away. I waited for some time and crossed over the pedestrian walk and walked home, thinking she gave me hand. She never wrote me back. As time passed, I decided she did not like me and forgot her. I went to Hyderabad for my second-year exams and Nandini has shifted to Hyderabad at the time. She gave me her number and told me to call her when I am in Hyderabad. After completing the exams, I called her. She told me to come to her place the next day and she gave me an address in Jubilee Hills. I went to the area at the address. I could not find the place and had to call her from a payphone. She gave me directions to reach her place. She was having a bungalow with a garden and a compound wall with a big gate. At the time there were very few houses there. In the compound, the latest model car was standing. She took me inside the house. She sat me down on the sofa and gave me some snacks and tea. We watched some TV and chatted. She said her parents were away to a marriage function at Gunter and would not return for another 2 days. She did not go with them, citing exams. Then she took me to her bedroom. There we had a wonderful time. This time I went there prepared. I know I have a problem with premature ejaculation. So before going to her place, I had jacked off. I spent more time with foreplay and postplay. My goal was her satisfaction to mine. The thing about men is they ejaculate and spend easily. Most women are not satisfied with that. Men had to be considerate of the women's needs. Even after spending, let them do their things. That is the way to happy sex life. I started with kissing her from mouth to legs and up to her mouth again. I kissed her on the chin and came down to her throat. Slowly kissing her, I removed her outerwear. She was on her bra. I kissed her on the valley of her breast. I moved her bra up and kissed her on her breasts. Using my lips, I kissed her nipple. They were small. I came down to her stomach and kissed her on her navel. Slowly kissing her, I moved her panties down, exposing her bushy hair, then her vagina. Completely removing her panties, I sat between her legs. With the tongue, I parted her vagina lips and put my tongue inside her vagina. It smelled wonderful there. After finding it wet there, I sat on her and entered her. After I found her satisfied, I rolled aside. We dozed off for some time. Later in the evening, she took me for a dinner at a fancy restaurant. We came back to her house and watched some TV. Later we retired to her bedroom. There we started where we left off. This I started from her back. I disrobed her and went behind her. Cupping her breasts, I pepperminted her from behind. I fucked her doggy style. Having spent, I dozed off for some time. She awoke me after 2 hours. We went down and had a coffee and light snack and went back to her room. We had our final act together. I laid her on the bed and I sat on her with my penis near her mouth and my mouth on her cunt. We used our mouths on each other this way for 5 minutes. Then she sat on me and she inserted my disc in her vagina and she was moving up and down. When she was satisfied, she rolled onto the bed and slept beside me. We kissed and said good night to each other and slept. In the morning she dropped me off near where I was staying. I had not invited her in and she had not insisted to come in. Next year I returned to Hyderabad for my final year exams. We used to exchange letters and once in a while talked on the phone. Then I had to go to the STD booth to call her. Our phone did not have an STD facility as it was department provided. Sometimes she used to call me. We kept in touch for a year like this. I called her saying I will be busy with exams for some time. I will be at my sister's place during exams. At the time my sister was visiting Bombay with her son. Her mother-in-law was present in the house. One day I went to write the exam and the girl came to my sister's place unexpectedly. I don't know what my sister's mother-in-law told her. When I learned that she came there, I called her. She talked distantly and said she will call later. When next time I called her, she had someone tell me that she was not available. I had my heart broken by this and returned to Bombay. She did not reply to my letters and had not taken my calls. As time passed, I decided, she dumped me on someone filling her ears and tried to forget her, getting myself busy by continuing my work and typing and shorthand lessons and practice. We also had our evening cricket practice for time pass. She went to the back of the brain but was never forgotten. Chapter 8. We had a team called the horror team for our cricket team. Ramesh is a Bengali but was born and brought up in Bombay. He was stout and around 5.8 feet, crazy about horror movies. Whenever someone's house was available we used to get a VCR player and rent some VCR tapes and watch movies. Mostly we used to watch horror and porn, XX comedy, movies. So, Ramesh had named our team Horror Team. There is no horror about our team. We are all some ordinary players having a good time playing cricket. We are all students from our colony except 3. Ramesh was working in telecom as a linesman, and another guy was Maharashtrian was working as a draftsman. He was in our building. Another Maharashtrian guy was in the opposite building. He was working in Fort area. Ramesh's work used to be fixing telephone lines. So, he used to have some extra income. Daily he used to take us to eat vada pav or bhaji pav. We used to like bhaji pav. Sometimes we used to pool money and used to go to Churchgate or Churney Road and surrounding areas to have drinks parties. After some time Sandeep, one member of our team, shifted to their own flat in the Lokwandwala complex. Sandeep came to visit us one day. After our match practice, we sat on a cement bench and were chit-chatting. When asked about his new home, he told us about how he took his maid. When no one was present in his house, he called her to his room and took her in his hands and kissed her and had slept with her. We did not meet him again. Ramesh used to like a girl from the railway station. We used to go to the station by walk and used to wait for the train. I had to take the opposite route to them. I used to wait for them to catch the train. It was just one station for me and there was no rush along my route. He used to look for her on the platform. Once he was telling us, he may need to go to Bengal and was talking about going there. She must have heard him. Another day she was telling her friend at the station how she did not want to go away from Bombay. He was not planning on going to Bengal. With his own words, he spoiled his chances. Once I made an amplifier by bringing parts from Grant Road, then I made 2 matching speakers with woofer, tweeter and mid-level. When Ramesh saw it, he wanted it to connect to his cassette player. I gave it to him. Next, another guy wanted the same. We brought the parts and I was making it. When I finished it, we were checking it by blasting some songs. By the time we vacated that flat and it was empty. I was working on the amplifier there as the flat was free. When we were checking with a high sound, the new neighbor was knocking on the door shouting that his daughter had to study. He could have told us to stop or at least asked us to decrease the sound. The next day he complained to the estate officer. My father scolded me for using the empty flat and we had to hand over the flat to the estate officer. Once our team members decided to go to Mud Island for a picnic for 2 days. It was a Saturday. We had a Bengali Ramesh, Kannada Sandeep, Gujarati Samir, 2 Marathi guys Uday, Mangesh and myself went to Mud Island for an overnight trip. Others in our cricket group are kids or studious students. They were not involved with our other activities. We started with hard cloth bedsheets for putting on the floor, a battery-operated radio cum cassette player, extra batteries, towels and some clothes. We brought beers, cigarettes for myself and some food items in Borivali and caught a launch boat at Borivali. After getting down from launch, we went to the beach by walk. On the way we were drinking beer, listening to songs, jumping and overall merrymaking. We reached the beach and rented a shack on the seashore. We put our things there and changed to swimwear, i.e. shorts. We put the beer in the water to keep it cool. We swam for some time and generally enjoyed ourselves. We came out of the water, toweled ourselves and sat to have a beer while listening to music. When the beer finished, the shack owner arranged for us some more whiskey and beer and went away. We were drinking and eating the eatable we bought along into the night. As the darkness ascended, Samir flung his shorts and started to dance naked. All stood up and started dancing, laughing at him. Maybe hearing this commotion, 4 girls walked towards us. We said hi, and after introductions, we offered them beer and whiskey. They took them willingly. They also ate some non-veg items we brought. They started selecting one of the boys. The first girl selected Sandeep. He was of good height and with a good physique. A short girl chose Samir. He was also short. Marathi guys refused to have anything to do with girls. He was a little conservative. A girl a little overweight and of good height chose Ramesh, who was like her, himself. And a short and round-faced, medium slim girl with spectacles is left for me. They all started kissing and generally feeling each other. It is generally dark with not much lighting except for the fire we started. One by one they went to the shack to enjoy themselves. It was my turn at last. I took my girl to the shack and started by kissing her on the mouth. I asked her if she has any reservations, and she could express herself. I inquired her if she is doing this for their friends or if she is doing it out of her free will. If she felt she was doing this for her friends, else she will ridicule her. She said she was okay with everything and wanted for herself to see how it would be. Her friends had told her a lot about it to her. She wanted to experience it for herself. So, I started to gently kiss her and see her reaction. She was responding well by kissing back. I gave her all kinds of pleasures available. She would have something to tell her friends. We played together for 5 years. I was hurt once on the shin and had to have surgery. Another guy hurt himself on the leg and had to be out of action for 6 months. But we did not leave cricket. We used to collect money and go and have a drinks party. After completing my degree, I started working with a courier company. I had hardly any time for cricket. Part 2. My work experiences. Chapter 1. After completing my degree, I joined a courier company as a trainee stenotypist. My work was taking dictation and typing the letters. I was working with regional manager. I was using someone else's typewriter. Due to the side room conversion into the conference room, the door to the room where the typewriter was located could not be accessed. I could not get access to the typewriter. I had to ask others to let me type on their typewriters. The company has a lot of Catholics in the management and staff. Especially staff. They speak good English and well-dressed and well-behaved. They were preferred by the management. Mr. Krishnamurti was the VP of marketing and had a Parsi girl Persis as steno. I used to keep in touch with all the stenos and the telephone operator, customer service girls, generally with all the girls working there. I used to inquire about their previous experiences and generally chat and gossip with them. This way I used to get to know all the information about the company, and what is happening in their departments. For typing purposes, I had to go to Persis. She is the only one who let me use her typewriter. She is a little older than me and a little plump. But she was very fair and has Parsi looks. She used to talk to me very sweetly. I used to go to her whenever I have something to type. I had to butter her up to get her to type for me or let me type on her typewriter. The company president's butler used to tell me to take her out on a date. As I was very shy then, I could not ask her out. I thought I might be out of her league. Later she was shifted to the accounts department and was replaced by Joyce. I used to learn shorthand at the Roshan Type Institute. One Marathi girl Bharati used to look after the institute. Owner Kazi used to be there a full day. Mainly he used to give shorthand lessons and generally looks after his institute. He was a returnee from Dubai. He brought some typewriters with him. There sometimes, when the owner was not present, he asked me to give shorthand tests and generally look out for the students. I used to wait until closing time. One of the students, Padmini, had trouble with the typewriter and I helped her and made a small joke about her typing. This joking happened twice or thrice. She must have taken the joking for flirting. I had no intentions. One day Padmini cornered me outside in the gully. Her friend was with her. Her friend was fair and good looking. She started telling me that her family was trying to fix her marriage, and someone came to them for a match. At first, I was shocked. I never thought of dating her. I had higher standards, at least I thought. Both of the girls start pressurizing me. I had previously been talking to a Marathi girl from the same institute and was dropping off her at her house after finishing the typing. She was not coming to the institute for some time. After thinking hard and burdened with the pressure of those two girls, I had agreed to her proposal, as until then I have not had a girlfriend, only friends who are girls. Padmini took me to the movies, of course with my money. She used to take me to the beach, secluded places and movies. She used to decide where to go. On Saturday afternoons, we had half day on Saturday. She used to come to my office and wait outside for me to come out. Once Deidre, who was the staff at the branch, saw me looking out for Padmini, and asked me, "What are you looking for?" I said I was looking for GF. She said to point out to me. When she saw her, she just pursued her mouth and went inside. At first, I was scared to touch her, but she used to guide me. I used to put my hand around her neck. One day when we were in a secluded place near university campus, one police jeep stopped and asked us about our details. I gave the details confidently, knowing they would not check with our parents. Even if they check, our parents would not have said anything. The police warned us not to stay in those places as it was not safe and went away. From then onwards we had avoided that place. During this time, I came close to two guys, students of the institute, when we went to Mud Island for a picnic. One is Raj and the other is Krishna. There was a girl, Vishali. She used to like Raj and generally was friendly with us. We four went for walks on the beach and generally enjoyed the trip. When we came back from the walk, one guy was having a monkey with him and he was making a monkey do feats. Raj called the monkey and it came and sat on Raj's shoulder and Vishali ran away scared. We had a lot of fun and I became friends with these two guys. When the bus came to take us back, we all went back. After a few days they told me a secret about Padmini. She was dating a Muslim guy, who is running a chicken shop, and the guy's family rejected her and they broke up. On a Sunday I wanted to check Padmini's intentions, went to Kirat's house and was purposefully delayed coming back. Padmini had asked me to meet at the bus stop around 5 p.m. When I returned from my friend's house, it was around 6:30 p.m. and Padmini was not there. The next day evening Padmini started shouting at me for not meeting her in time. She was shouting that she was scared and whatnot. After prolonged tongue trashing, she just went away and stopped attending the typing institute and never came to visit me. I thought, good riddance. After meeting her, I used to see all bad omens. If she meets me on the way to the office, I could not get the bus in time and had to go a roundabout way. By taking 2 buses and a train. Over that she was not much pretty. She had a small mouth like a mouse. She used to dress semi-fashionably, but when she wears the yellow t-shirt, I used to hate it. This way I was rid of her. After some time, Sahiti, the girl I used to drop off at home, returned to the institute. She was totally changed, became more fashionable. Cut her hair short over the shoulders. She got a job with a big company with her sister's recommendation. She was dressing more fashionably. I started to drop off her at home because she used to practice until closing time. I used to take a small detour. This went on for some time. Later I missed her as I had started working the second shift at my office. I could never propose to her because of my previous experience. I was just a trainee stenotypist. She was appointed as PA and also, I was scared she must have seen me with Padmini. Chapter 2. After some time, the newly appointed AVP called me. He came to know about my talent from my manager. That morning I went to Leela Kempinski Hotel for an interview for stenotypist job. They held typing and shorthand tests. I have done reasonably well. I took permission for coming late to the office. At that time, I was working with the branch. The VP was asking about daily reports. The manager said that Kumar had taken permission to come late. As I was a hard-working person and used to work late into the evening, he had given me permission. The AVP offered his PA job as he wanted a person who does not look at the time when given work and work to his timings. Specifically, he wanted a dependable and hard-working person. And the girls want to work fixed hours, would not stay late. I said that after completing the probation period, I was not confirmed and not given my increment. He offered me his PA post and said he will recommend an increment with confirmation. Throughout the day he used to give dictation. I had little time to type. I had to take fast lunch and do some typing. If I take a document for his signing, he would make me sit for dictation. In between, he used to take calls, which used to run at least half an hour. I learned a lot from his calls, about how they do business. I had to work late to finish up the typing. He planned to get dictaphone. He gave me earphones also. But the stint with the AVP was short-lived and he was sent to Delhi due to some problems there. He went willingly as he was originally from Delhi. I had worked with him just for 2 or 3 weeks. Before going away, he confirmed my appointment and increment. When he left I had pending letters, which took me a week to clear. I got them signed by VP. He was transferred and I was left to work with VP Marketing. He gave me additional charge of auditing collections and outstandings. He already had another steno, Joyce, working for him. She is dark and round and 5 feet in height. She used to wear a very costly Rolex watch. I was told her father used to work abroad. As we both work for the same VP, when I am free, I used to check her work, read what she is typing and generally keep myself in the loop. because her work and my work used to overlap. Once I saw a letter from some regional manager, asking the VP why she was receiving letters from the auditing when she had already explained the VP. He blasted her saying let them do their job, wrote in my support. Once she asked me to accompany her and her friends to a movie. I had Ramesh, who works around that area, to book the tickets. There were no online bookings then and we went to watch the movie. Later when I asked her to go to a movie she refused and rebuked me for asking. Apparently, she wanted someone to give her company when her friend and her boyfriend wants to go to the movies. They both were from our office. Later I was transferred to the Kandivali branch. I used to go to the office every day, and once I went to meet her at her table. She looked scared and told me not to come to meet her as her boss, VP, is reprimanding her about me. Then I understood that I might have gained notoriety with the management as a ladies' man and her boss had scared her not to talk to me. This title I won without doing anything. I was doing my job and helping my colleagues. People like to speak with me. Even President's PA used to speak to me for at least 1 hour if I go to her for any work. I am a good listener and people like my honest face. The only thing, I kept in touch with everyone and spent at least some time chatting with them. Maybe someone became jealous and filled the boss's ears, or they must have seen me talking with someone. Later her boss shifted his office and took her away to another branch. That's when I lost contact with her. Once I met her at Kandivali station. I was going to my office and she was catching the train from there to go to the office. She talked very sweetly to me and inquired how I was doing. I politely replied to her and went to my office. I was just sad. Until I was with the company, I never met her again. Neither seen her after. Chapter 3. Our courier company was near the airport. It was airport hub for operations and head office and also airport branch. I was working with the airport branch in general operations and preparation of daily statements before the AVP offered me the job of PA. There I took a liking to a girl. Most of the staff there were Catholics. She was pretty, with a round face, around 5 feet, and was living in a hostel as her parents were away. Her name is Sandhya and all used to call her Sandy. I used to help her with her work and I had a lot of customer care information, contracts of the credit clients, and areas serviced, which I used to pass on whenever she needed it. Generally, I used to fill for at the counter when she is away or delayed or goes for lunch. After AVP left I had to work with the branch for some time before being out in charge of the Kandivali branch. It has become my backup job. One day she had insulted me on a trivial matter and I decided to work from my room on the second floor. Unknown to me at the time, she was going out with a guy from international operations. He must be 6 feet and good looking. That day she must have fought with him. On Monday morning they both came to the office together and she was wearing a mini skirt and a top that was flaring. Immediately she went to the toilets and changed into something presentable. But unfortunately, he had dumped her later and she left the company heartbroken and I had felt nothing for her. Chapter 4. Then a new set of marketing executives were appointed and a new customer service department was set up. They have started a drive after the company they were in contract with was taken over by UPS Courier Company. All the new marketing executives were sent to our branch for interviews, and later for orientation. One of the new girls, it was her first job, was a little dark, slim and has a fresh face, a beautiful looking girl. She was staying in our locality. Once she has shown me her house near the church. Those are me and my friends, roaming grounds. We used to go for smoking there. We both used to go back home together on the same bus. I used to buy her ticket frequently. Once she invited me to one of the staff members' wedding. There will be other staff members, she told me. It was a Catholic marriage in a church. She told me to come to the bus stop around 7:30 p.m. I did not have any suits which normally worn to those marriages. I am not aware of this at the time. It was my first attendance at the church marriage. So, I wore what I had kurta pajama and kolhapuri chapal, which I brought for my sister's marriage. I went to the bus stop 10 minutes early. I waited for some time. When she did not turn up, I went to her house and waited outside without knocking for some time and returned to the bus stop. She was more than half an hour late. We went to the church. No one has arrived from the bride or groom's side. Some more members of the office staff arrived. We wandered around for some time. Later wedding started. There was a toast with wine. Later dance floor was set up. As this church prohibits the serving of liquor, none was served. I had not much enjoyed the marriage, as I could not dance with them with my dress and my chapelle. From then on, she kept a little distance from me. May she have thought I was not her type. Even though she was Kannada Hindu, she must have been brought up with Catholic friends. She attends Mahim Church Wednesday Novena. If the other person was not interested, I will not follow them, that is my attitude. However, as she had another set of friends, I had not bothered her again. I kept my distance as a colleague. When she required my assistance with clients and collections, I was helping her generally, taking her to clients and doing collections for her. There was another married woman. She was fair and a little plump but not fat with a good height. Another girl was very dark and she took a liking to me after I accidentally touched her. They used to take me to client meetings, for collection of checks, etc. We used to go to L&T Powai in an auto rickshaw. I used to sit between her and another girl. I was always excited and used to enjoy my trips. There were some girls from customer care when they joined. I gave them orientation. I sat with them and explained the procedures and other relevant information. One girl used to talk to me when I ever meet her even after I left the company. She used to meet me sometimes at the Parle station bus stop. She used to take the same bus as I was. I was courteous with her, giving her the respect she deserved. Two guys were working as marketing executives before I joined. One was Balachander and the second was Rajesh. Rajesh joined as a courier boy. He used to do deliveries on his car. Seeing his dedication, our manager offered him marketing executive. Balachander used to sit with me and write his daily reports. We used to have a good rapport. When they planned a branch at Kandivali, the management planned Balachander as in charge and me as an operations assistant. Later he left when I had taken 15 days leave for ICWA exams. He left the charge to a courier boy, Tony. Chapter 5. I had two close friends from the Typing Institute. Raj is a Punjabi and Krishna Maharashtrian from Goa. Another two were his friends from Raj's colony, are Shekhar and Harry. They all used to stay in the same building. Once Krishna was returning from Goa. He booked a seat on a bus. He brought a beer bottle before getting on the bus. When he found a lady was sitting in his seat with a girl sitting beside her, he fought with the lady to vacate the seat and made her go to some other seat. The lady was not related to the girl. She was only trying to avoid going to the last seat. After sitting, he started hitting the bottle he brought with him. He started small talk with the girl beside her and found that she is working as a nurse in Bombay. After the lights went out, he started fingering her and she was cooperating with him until both of them are satisfied. She gave him her number. Later he went to meet her. They went to some place to have a good time. He learned AC repairing and was working with an AC servicing company for servicing. One day he went to a house for servicing. There he found a lady with a cleft lip. She is coming on him, as everyone rejects her. He told him about her Raj and gave him her phone no. After calling her, Raj took her to our recently vacated house. Later when we handed over our house, he took her to Mud Island. When Shekhar asked him to let her have her, Raj refused. To take revenge on him, Shekhar took her to Mud Island to enjoy her. This ended there. Shekhar used to like a girl. Raj told him he will fix him, Shekhar, with her. Raj used to give the girl gifts and told her that it was from a secret admirer. He used to take us with him for support. This went on for some time until her marriage was fixed with her boyfriend. Shekhar went berserk. He went to her expressing his love for her and asking her to cancel the marriage. She said it is too late now, he should have come to her earlier. This way Raj spoiled Shekhar's love. Raj used to study in a college in Dadar but never went to classes. He used to wander around the Mithibai College canteen. Raj took a liking to a girl from Mithibai College. When she first saw him, she was wearing white churidar pajamas. He named her Chandini from the Chandini movie. He used to call us to the college canteen so he could see her and we would be there for moral support. We all used to sit in the canteen. Lots of guys and girls come to us for some advice and some people ask about their future. I used to tell them about them using their date of birth, sun signs and seeing their hand. Our benches were always full in the canteen. Where 3 can sit 5 people used to sit. Raj used to go to Gurdwara to pray for Chandini to come close to him and used to take us with him to Gurdwara. He gave me a steel khadi, steel bangle. I used to feel confident with the khadi. He was obsessed with her. She was a Punjabi girl. He even gatecrashed their college annual function. By hook or crook, he got us entry to the function after 1.5 hours, just to see her. He used to call us to the canteen, so we will be present for moral support. However, through some friends' friends, he made friends with her and went to her house, made friends with her mother using his Punjabi background. He went to their housing complex for Dussehra Navaratri Garba dance performances. Halfway through the Garba, he wanted to have drinks. We went to a nearby bar. Unknown to us, the bar was a dance bar. Once we saw what it was, we had a drink and rushed off. When her mother came to know went to the bar, she scolded him. When she finally became friendly with him, she told him that she likes another boy and they had some differences and he does not talk to her bow. Now he took it upon himself to bring them together. He befriended him through some common friends and at last convinced him to take her back. After some convincing, he agreed to be back with her. When they came back together, she filled her boyfriend's ears and made him away from him. So, the story ended that way for him. He was treating Vaishali as a girlfriend. She used to like him. But he was not giving her much importance. Later on, I went to the reception of our office. Vaishali was sitting there and speaking to my colleague. He is the nephew of the owner of the Typing Institute, with tears in her eyes. She was crying and wanted to end her life. She was crying that she loves him and he is not responding to her. As I know both of them, I gave some advice and counseling and sent her away. She came back after 2 days. I took her to our friends. Raj was not present, and we consoled her and told her to forget him as he is not worth the trouble. Krishna used to like a girl. She used to collect milk daily from a dairy farm in their lane. Her pet name is Triza. Raj used to take the 2 of us for a fag near the dairy farm. The Type Institute owner, Vaishali and Triza were in the same lane. Each one's houses were close by. We used to behave as if we are meeting her accidentally. We used to walk back with her to her house. She joined the Typing Institute. But Krishna could not tell her he liked her. He used to sit beside her and practice typing. Even though he is not interested in typing. Once Kazi, owner of the institute, gave one VCR and said it was stopping after some time. I took it home and we rented some VCR cassettes and watched for 3 days. I opened the VCR, cleaned everything and gave it back to him saying he should have ventilation for the VCR, not to put it in closed enclosures. After 2 days he gave it back saying it has conked off. I opened and checked the circuits. One resistor blew off at the power output. I replaced the resistor and it was working. We again rented some cassettes and watched for 2 days. After 2 days I asked Raj and Krishna to take the VCR and give it back to him. I was standing far away. They gave it back and asked for some money, which he gave. We recovered the cassettes rent this way. One posh girl was coming to the institute. She was highly fashionable and used to wear a skirt, shirt and coat. She was beautiful. Raj went behind her and found her home. One day he was saying to me that she will be suitable for me. I told him, forget her, I can't reach her standards. She stays near the police station, maybe their father in the police. We used to sit in the Mithabai canteen and lots of boys and girls used to come and meet us at the table. They used to come to me asking to see their hands or tell their astrology details. One girl I liked, she was a dusky, round-faced and a little plump and I used to sing the song, Thumho Mil Gay Ho, meaning that when I have found you, I found the whole world. But she was not looking at us. I asked Raj to get her introduction. He said forget her, I will get you another girl. Because her friends were not in his contact, he could not get her intro. Once Krishna took a group of girls around the campus by saying we will go to London. At last, he made them wait outside the toilets. When he came out they asked where are we going. He said London, showing the toilets. He used to do comedy with the people this way. After being shifted to the Kandivali branch, we did not have supervision, Someone was always present in the office and others can go and come as they likes. I used to go to Airport Hub and check the courier items are collected. If not, I arranged for them to be sent to our branch. From there I used to go to Mithabai College. When my evening classes for ICWA had started, I used to go in the evenings to the college instead of in the mornings. Chapter 6. When the new branch was opened, I was given independent charge of a branch and sent to Kandivali. My designation was changed to Operations Assistant. When Balachandar left, one marketing executive was given to our branch. Her name is Mahira. She had previous experience. She used to come with me to the branch and I used to take her to the clients around the area of our branch. We went to many existing and potential clients. We used to go around in Kandivali industrial area. She used to talk sweetly to me. She has the habit of saying so sweet, in appreciation of the actions. She was not much pretty but average looking. She became close to me professionally. We were not dating or anything. We used to smoke together. Due to this, I started smoking more. I used to have controlled smoking, just 3 in a day. There was a restaurant near Andheri station, where we used to meet and smoke and discuss things. Once we were sitting in our office, a call came. My assistant Tony took the call. His sister used to work in our company in another branch and she put him there. He was Catholic and used to talk in English sweetly with a low tone. It was a wrong number but he spoke to her sweetly and for a prolonged time. She used to call him and he used to speak to her for a long time. He was already married, but he used to say he was separated from his wife. Once when he was away I took the call. She also spoke to me for a long time. I asked her what she was doing. She said she is in second-year degree in Mithabai College. I said, I regularly visit the college. In fact, I was doing my ICWA course at NM College. These two colleges were on the same campus. She agreed to meet me at Parle Station. We had our whole gang waiting for her. Our friends consisted of both boys and girls. We waited for more than an hour. We thought we saw some girls. Seeing our friends, she must have been scared and did not approach us and she never called again. Once Mangesh Hedau, he was a cricket mate, asked me to take his typing test for him and get him a certificate. He could get a promotion and increment. I said okay. He asked me how much money I want. I said the cost for practice and exams and the party for our group. He agreed to it and gave me an amount for 6 months of practice. I joined an institute in Kandivali near our office and joined in Mangesh Hedau's name and started to practice in the afternoons before lunchtime. One day Tony came to the institute to call me for lunch with Mahira and was asking for Kumar. The instructor told him there are no Kumar there. I looked up, waved at him and shouted coming. She was looking strangely at me. I explained to her Kumar was my middle name and he is the only person who calls me that. After 6 months I took the test and I got 40 out of 50 marks for the 40 WPM test and gave him the certificate. He gave us the party at Charna Road. When Tony decided to celebrate his marriage anniversary, he called us to his house. He said that he and his wife were not together and wanted to celebrate their anniversary, so they can come together. I went with 2 other courier boys from our branch, and Mahira went to his house. He had invited some neighbors and his friends and his wife's friends. At the party he had drunk heavily. Instead of patching up with his wife, he was proposing to Mahira. She was just laughing at him. When it was around midnight, I and another courier boy took an auto and reached home. I liked his wife's younger sister Maria at the party and gave her my number. Our office was near the Kandivali station on the main road. If she had to go to the station, she had to pass our office. Maria visited our office after 2 weeks. I have sent other boys for collections and locked the glass door and took her to the inside room. If anyone comes, it looks as if the office was closed. Inside we had a sofa. There we started having a go. I was angry at Tony for proposing to Mahira. I wanted to take revenge and did not tell him about this. Then one day Tony went away to Saudi. He already arranged it at the time of his anniversary but he did not tell me. He got a job there and went away on a fine day. When the accounts department were doing auditing, they found some payments were not submitted. Tony, when I was on leave for 15 days for my exams and he got charge of the branch when he was taking the payments to Ho used to withhold some vouchers and not submit cash for them. When the accounts checked the proof of delivery with the submitted vouchers, the discrepancy was found. Due to this, I was shifted back to Ho and was given a second shift in branch operations. There used to be another guy who used to work in Ho operations. Vichair, we used to have clashed about work and procedures. He is the type who fills the ears of the bosses. I used to go with the evening van when courier boys were not available. One day Mahira came to me with a complaint from a client that we have not picked up their courier the previous evening. As I visited the client the previous day, I took Mahira to meet the client. We went there and sorted the things. As their security was responsible, they accepted the mistake and took back the complaint. Vichair went and said something to the operations manager. But the management has taken a bad view of this visit and asked her to resign immediately. Until today I don't understand the reason behind asking her to resign. I went to meet clients with all the executives. I went for collections. I know all the contracts with the clients. They always take me to meet with the clients. I know where the services are available and where it is not. After she left, finding the second shift was giving me problems with my studies. I was doing my ICWA and classes just started for the second group in the evening. After missing 2 classes, I went and asked the operations manager for a change in the shift. He refused to accept my request, citing Tony's fiasco. Also, he threatened to cut my salary for Tony's mischief. I resigned by giving a month's notice. Chapter 7. After completing my notice period, I left the company without informing anyone. Just the staff there. I and Mahira used to meet at the restaurant near Andheri station. Mahira proposed we start a courier company. She had some friends in Nashik and Pune and she was proposing to bring courier services between these cities. Her friend in Nashik was working with a courier company. He will get some clients. She also told me we will provide other services with our company. Her friends had a fire extinguisher manufacturing facility. They were making small-sized extinguishers which will fit in cars and can be used in offices. We used to go together to meet clients. We went to Nashik and set up a small office. Another 2 courier boys from our Kandivali office agreed to join us. They were fed up with the company. We had a function at my house for starting the company. She has invited all the managers from our previous company. Unfortunately, I could not meet them, as I had to go to a meeting with a client. I was delayed to reach the party. I had reached home after everyone left. Mahira told me the previous manager was asking about me. Later she told me that she called Tony in Saudi and told him about starting the company. She said to me that he was jealous and was telling congratulations to us as if it is not a company we set up and as if we were engaged. I did not know what to make of the conversation. Either she was telling me about him becoming jealous of our relationship or she wants me to propose to her. I was just attracted to her and waiting to see her reaction. I was scared of proposing to her. Small incidents did not allow me to express myself. After starting the company, we also tried to offer other products through our company. We used to go together to meet clients. She engaged one of her friends as a receptionist. The receptionist used to sit at the telephone and used to call full day. We used to go meet with clients. She took me to meet her friends asking for help with the company. Then we made several trips to Nashik. We had taken an office with a room on monthly rent for our office. So, we had an office with a phone and a room to sleep in the night, whenever we visited. I was stationed there for 2 months and she used to come once in a while to visit me. We used to go meet clients in the day and used to sleep in the room attached to our office at night. I had a single cot with a mattress there. I also had an extra cotton mattress. Sometimes courier boys come and stay the night and go in the morning. Whenever she visited, I used to let her sleep on the cot and I used to sleep on the mattress on the floor. On the first day, we went to visit the client's list provided by our friend. Then we went for dinner and returned to our room. The first day, as we were going from client to client full day, we were fully tired and went to bed early and had a sound sleep. On the second day, we went and visited Taparia Steel. That day she borrowed my blue and black striped t-shirt. Normally, I use it for the winter cold. Taparia Steel manufactures wrenches and tools. Their factory was nice. They were having piped music throughout the factory. First time I have seen a place where piped music running, creating a pleasant environment. We came back to the office in the evening, went for dinner and came back and slept. As it was winter, the nights were very cold. Cold wind used to blow from small crevices of the windows. Blankets were not sufficient. After some time, she came down and slept beside me, saying it was very cold. We combined both the blankets and shared them. At first, we slept with our backs to each other. I turned around, put my hand on her, and she pulled my hand and me closer, maybe because of the cold. Her chest was touching my hand. I felt a little twinge in my loins and I pressed myself closer to her. My pelvic region was touching her ass. My penis was burrowed into the middle of her ass. A small sound escaped from her mouth. She pressed my hand to her chest. I pressed her boob a little. She moaned a little. I pressed her another boob. Now she turned towards me and kissed me on the mouth. My hand now was on her ass, pressing a little. We played with our tongues a little. I brought my hands to the front of her and started removing the buttons of her shirt. Her bra-clad boobs were visible. She made me turn on my back and sat on me and removed her shirt. Now her bra-filled breast was visible. I touched her on the top of the breasts and slightly pressed them. She released a slight moan. I moved the straps of the bra to the sides and brought the bra down. Now her breasts were fully visible. I pressed them with the tips of my fingers. I pressed the nipples, and in reaction, she arched backwards. I loosened the thread of the pajamas. I slid the hand inside the pajamas to her underwear. I touched the area above her cunt. She got up and removed her pajamas and sat down on me again. I had on my lungi, which could easily be pushed aside. I again touched her breast and started pressing them. She came down on me and reached my lips. I turned her aside and laid her face up and sat on my knees beside her. I started kissing her breasts. With my lips, I was milking her nipples. Then I reached down and started kissing her stomach, her navel and her pelvic region. Finally, I went and sat between her legs and started fingering her cunt with my tongue. I parted the lips of her vagina and put my tongue inside. She left a moan with pleasure. It was very sweet smelling there. After some time, I slept with her and she helped me to put my dick inside her. I started to move rhythmically while milking her boobs with my mouth. I was spent and rolled over. I reached for a cigarette and lit it. I took a drag and she took it from me and took a drag and gave it back to me. We finished the cigarette in silence. We dozed off in each other's arms. The cold was forgotten. We went into a sound sleep with the help of double blankets. The next day was a Sunday. We wanted to spend the day relaxing. We got up. I took a bath and we went for breakfast. After breakfast, we returned to the room, looked at some papers she bought for signing and decided to go for an afternoon movie. We went to the theater, took tickets and went to a nearby restaurant and had lunch, then went and watched the movie. We came out of the movie, had our evening tea and went back to the room. She wanted to take bath. We did have a water heater but no shower. She filled the bucket with hot water and called me to give her some shampoo. I took the shampoo to her and asked, "Can I come in?" I went inside. She was removing her outer clothes. She removed them and put them on a clothesline. Now she was in her innerwear. I stood there for a minute and I looked at her. Seeing her in the night lamplight and seeing her in the evening light was different. I felt something move inside my heart. I moved forward and kissed her on the lips. She responded by kissing back. We kissed each other for some time using our lips and tongues. I put my hand behind her and pressed her ass and pulled her towards me. My penis was touching her just below her navel. She removed her inner garments and put them on the clothesline. I was just staring at her. It was the first time for me to see her fully naked under the light. I put my mouth on her nipple bit slightly with my teeth. Then I sat down on my knees and put my mouth on her cunt and fingered her with my tongue. She caught my hair and pressed my head closer to her. After 2 minutes, I got up and turned her around. I took my penis and inserted it under her ass into her cunt. I caught her hip and started to move slowly. She started moving rhythmically to my movement. After we were spent, we had a bath together, rubbing each other's back. Came out and dressed, discussing where to go for dinner. After half an hour she received a call from her home to come to Bombay on an urgent matter. I took her to the bus stand and she left for Bombay. After a few days, one of our courier boys from Bombay brought some documents and parcels to be delivered to Nashik. As we arranged with her friend in Nashik, he was working in a courier company as in charge. I arranged for parcels to be delivered by their boys. The boy went back to Bombay by train. We arranged for him to have a monthly pass to travel between Bombay and Nashik. I also had a quarterly pass purchased when we decided to start the branch. Next time Mahira came with some documents to be delivered. This time, she said she could not stay for more than a day, as she had some work to be carried out in Bombay. We went and had chat with her friend from the courier company and took him to lunch. After handing over the documents to him, we returned to our office room. We went through our plans and she had documents for me to sign for setting up a company, which she had to submit with the registrar the next day. We went out and had tea and snacks and came back. She packed her bag and was ready to leave. We had a quickie, then I took her to the railway station and sat her on a train. That was the last I saw her for some time. We were talking about the business on the phone. Boys were coming and going. One day the courier boy gave me shocking news. She was going steady with a guy. He was her ex and she left him then as he become addicted to drugs. Now he came back to her saying he will leave the drugs and will be a good boy, and she accepted his proposal and they were going steady. After hearing this I put a local boy in charge of the office and went back to Bombay. By this time, I have used up all the savings. I went and met Mahira at our regular restaurant. She was sitting with her new boyfriend placing her hands around his neck. Her chest was touching his hand and his back. She behaved as if nothing happened between us. I told her, I will be here for some time, as I have to attend my ICWA classes which I missed for some time. With no money in hand, I used to do some odd work to earn spending money. One day she called me and gave me some money to go and close our office in Nashik. I went and closed our office, gave some money to the boy and came back to Bombay. Slowly, I started moving away from her. By now we also shifted from that area and shifted to another posh colony, where higher management officials were living. It was in the center of the city far from her place. Our phone number also changed. I used to do some odd jobs. During this time, I joined a software company for data entry work. The owner used to send me to clients with updated software on floppy disks. I learned some commands for DOS and Unix to copy files to the systems. Then I learned looking at him making changes, how the programming is done. He used to use two programs. One is on COBOL and one is on FoxPro. I got some computer books from Raj and studied FoxPro. One time at around 7 p.m., Raj's mother called me and asked me to accompany her to Nashik. Someone in their family died and I had a railway pass to Nashik. We took a train to Nashik. There were no seats and we had to sit on the floor and travel. We reached Nashik around 1 a.m. and reached their house in 15 minutes. They gave me a bed to sleep in, and the next day someone dropped me at the station to return to Bombay. One day Type Institute owner Kazi had got 2 second-hand computers. He wanted to teach computers in his institute and arranged for a computer teacher. He was not getting many students. He sent me to get some data entry work from his friend's company. His friend was HR manager there. I went to the concerned department, it was purchasing department, and said so and so sent me for the data entry work they were having. The manager said they could not give the work to be taken outside and it has to be completed in-house. I took up the work of data entry. When the work was completed, they gave me accounting data entry. I started slowly showing what can be improved and got entry into the EDP department. There another guy was working as a data entry operator, preparing invoices. He used to take my help if he wants a leave. I showed the management some improvements in the programming and maintenance of the equipment. I was appointed and after some time, when I prepared the entire software in FoxPro and installed it, they promoted me to EDP manager. Chapter 8. Once our factory workers had arranged for a musical program in an auditorium. We had to purchase tickets for them. We went to the program. Madhuri Dixit's song, Mera Piya Gar Aaya, was just released. One girl had brilliantly danced to the song. That was the highlight of the evening. One girl from the accounts department was sitting beside me. She was Gujarati, and around 5 feet 2 inches in height. The next day I shifted her to my department citing some problem with her system. She worked for 2 weeks there. Then our chief accountant had her shifted back to her department. Once our office people have arranged for an overnight picnic to Mud Island. As Saturday was a holiday and Sunday we normally have a holiday. They thought that 2 days trip would be nice. We all collected money from the members who wants to go to the picnic. We rented a minivan and went to Mud Island. Someone already booked rooms and arranged for cooking by the staff. We went to the beach for swimming. I wore a short and went further into the sea. Generally, I don't know much about swimming but could handle myself in the water. There was a recently joined girl. She was Catholic and thin-bodied. She wore a single-piece swimsuit. She also came along with us and was swimming with us. Some people were swimming at the edge of the sea. We went further and the water is safe in Mud Island. While she was swimming, I dived into the water and pulled her from the under. The first time she was scared. Next time she took it playfully. We swam together playfully enjoying the water. After 1 hour of swimming, we came out of the water and had our bath. Later we had our lunch with the others. After an hour we decided to take a walk on the beach. We walked for 15 minutes when we found our group had disappeared. We sat down near a clump of trees. We were talking for some time. She was asking about me and my family, where I was staying. I told her the details and we were talking for some time. I decided to take initiative and put my hand on her shoulder. She moved a little closer to me. I turned my face towards her and kissed her on the cheek. She responded by turning her face and kissing me on the mouth. We kissed for some time. We enjoyed ourselves by kissing for some time and returned to our friends. When asked, we told them we just went for a walk on the sand as we felt a little heavy in the stomach after lunch. In the evening we had some games and dances with the group. We slipped outside when someone asked, "Where are you going?" "Just for a walk," I said. We went a little further and chose an empty cottage and asked for a room. They obliged as the rooms were not occupied by anyone. I paid for them and got the keys. We went inside the room and started kissing. Later we removed our dresses and fingered each other. She gave me a blowjob and in turn, I licked her fresh pussy simultaneously pressing her boobs. When she was ready, she asked me to enter her. I made her sit on her knees and bend forward and enter from behind. Her pussy was tight and moist. I removed my penis before ejaculation as I don't want to leave my semen in her. Next, I turned her around and start playing with her pussy until she is satisfied. We spent some time resting and returned to our group. Chapter 9. As a manager, I had the privileges to travel by AC coach or by air. For visiting Delhi, I used to prefer going by Rajdhani Express. For visiting Madras, I prefer air travel. To go to Delhi, if we sit around 4 in the evening it reaches Delhi by 9 am. I could go to hotel and freshen up and go to the office by 11 am. I used to visit the branches for updating the software or problems with the servers or systems. Sometimes I had to go at a moment's notice, then I used to go by air. Once I have booked on the Rajdhani Express in AC sleeper 2-tier coach. I got seat number 1 lower berth. I checked the list put up outside the door. The next seat was given to a lady 27 years of age. Her name was listed as Loveleen. I went in and sat down on my seat. It was just 2 seats on that coupe, with curtains. As the train was about to start, a lady came and sat beside me. I asked if this was her seat, and she replied yes. She was 5 feet 3 inches in height and with a slim figure and seems to be from a good family and fashionable and not too much makeup. She would be beautiful without any makeup. She seemed the ideal girl to take home to your mother. I told her I was going to Delhi on office work and she said she was going there for attending some function. I was telling her about computers and software and she was telling me what she was doing. During our chat, I told her I will be staying in a hotel in Noida Sector 1. She said she will be at Noida Sector 22 at her relative's place. We spent talking until 10 in the night. We dozed off sitting for some time. She had placed her head on my shoulder and was sound asleep. After letting her sleep for some time, I shook her lightly and asked her if she wanted to go to sleep. She said yes. I said I will sleep on the upper berth and she could sleep on the lower berth. I took my bedsheet and blanket and arranged them on the top berth. She arranged her bedsheet on the lower berth. We kissed goodnight and I went up to my berth and slept. The next morning, we woke up and exchanged our numbers. I gave her the hotel number and my office number and she gave me her relative's number. There were no mobiles yet. We got down at the station and we took a cab together. I dropped her off at Sector 22 and went to my hotel. After 2 days, Loveleen called me at the office to inquire about how long will I be in Delhi. I said at least a week as upgrading of the systems and software to be done. She asked me if I would like to attend the marriage function to be held the next night. I said I would be free at the night. She said she will introduce me as a friend from Noida. I said sure. I went there the next night wearing a suit. By this time, I have improved my wardrobe. I carry a suit or two for attending meetings. I went to the marriage. It was a Punjabi marriage. Everyone at the marriage hall was very friendly. Punjabi people are generally very friendly. At functions they are super friendly. There was liquor, non-veg food, snacks, everything. One boy around 20 age started hanging around me asking me what I would like to have. Do I need anything? She must have told him to look after me. I had some drinks, had some snacks, enjoyed myself thoroughly. Later on, we had dinner. When the function was completed, I was ready to go to my hotel room. Loveleen asked me can she come to my room tomorrow. I said certainly, as I had booked a double room this time by saying my wife will join me later. As a policy, the hotels do not allow guests in single rooms. I have expected something like this might happen and took precautions of booking a double room. Otherwise, I would have needed to change to a double room. The next day morning I took a cab and picked her up and took her to my room. I told her to freshen up and order room service if she needs anything. I will be back soon after attending to a matter at the office. As I had to go to the Delhi office for an important matter, which I could not postpone, I said I will return as soon as possible. I went to the office and took an office car and went to Delhi. There I had meetings with the vendors about upgrading systems for both Delhi and Noida. I gave specific instructions and ordered whatever was needed. Signed the contracts for requirements, came back to Noida in the office car and told the driver to drop me at the hotel. I went inside the hotel. The receptionist handed me the key to the room and said my wife went out shopping. I went to my room and freshened up and ordered some tea and was waiting for her. Loveleen came after an hour with a handful of bags. She brought for her and me some clothes and other things. By the time it was 5 p.m., we sat on the balcony and had tea and chatted for some time. When it was 8 p.m., she wore a sari and we went to the restaurant in the hotel. There I ordered some drinks and some snacks to eat with the drinks. We spent around 1.5 hours chatting and drinking. After completing our drinks, we took buffet meals. They have a good selection of items in the buffet. Rather than ordering separate items, it was a good idea to select the items available in the buffet. After dinner, we had a little walk outside and back to our room by 11 p.m. We spent some time watching TV. We decided to retire to bed. Once on the bed, we started taking things slowly, as if we have all the time in the world. We started by kissing, which went on for infinity. We forgot time as if the time froze. Slowly I started coming down and kissed her on the chin. Then down to her throat. Slowly down to her chest. I went over slowly by her blouse and kissed her stomach. Then I reached her navel. Then I moved down to her legs and started to come slowly up by lifting her sari and petticoat. I reached her knee and went on pushing her sari up over the thighs and continued kissing her. When I reached her pelvic region, I removed the pin holding her sari and pulled the sari aside. Reached to her petticoat knot and pulled it, releasing her petticoat. I pulled the petticoat down, exposing her underwear. Now I went up slowly, released the buttons on her blouse. I removed her blouse, exposing her bra. Now I started kissing the exposed part of my breast. I put my hands behind her and unclipped her bra and slowly released her bra from her body, exposing her breasts. In the dim light, they looked divine. Slowly pressing her breasts, I put my mouth to her nipple. She was moaning a little. I removed my clothes and sat beside her. She was sleeping face up on her back. I kissed her again on the mouth. Slowly kissing her, I came down and reached her navel. Now I pushed her panty down and kissed her on the cunt. Slowly removing her panties, I was moving down with my mouth. I completely removed her panty. Now slowly kissing her, I came up to her cunt. I pushed my tongue through the lips of her vagina. She arched backwards with pleasure. I separated and bent her legs, so her cunt will be exposed. Now going deep into her vagina with my tongue and started moving it inside. Now sitting on my knees, I started moving from her cunt to stomach, breasts, and throat and reached her lips. Now I touched my penis to her cunt. She guided me inside. I started a rhythmic movement of my hips and she matched it with her movement. Next, I made her turn over and made her sit on her knees. For the first time, I tried anal intercourse with her. I bought some Vaseline and applied it on her asshole. I slowly inserted it into her anal. Slowly I started pulling and pushing it into her anal. After 2 minutes I pulled it out and inserted it into her vagina and started a rhythmic movement of my hips while holding her hips. Having spent I rolled over and put my head on the pillow. Now she started kissing my body. From mouth, she came down to chin to throat. Then she started kissing my chest. This went on for 2 minutes. By this time my penis started to get hard. Now she sat on me, guided my penis into her vagina and started moving up and down until she is satisfied. Spent she rolled over and lay beside me. I took her into my arms and kissed her on the mouth. I got up, wore a half pants and lit a cigarette and went and stood on the balcony smoking. I felt a little twinge in my heart as if something was bad about to happen. We went to sleep. I woke up around 4:30 a.m. by the sound of the phone ringing. It was from home and my father had a heart attack and was admitted to the hospital. They called me to come home immediately. Replacing the receiver on the hook, I asked her if she is coming to Bombay with me, and she replied yes. I called the reception and told them to book 2 tickets to Bombay on the first available flight. They rang up and said a 7 a.m. flight available and they booked the tickets for me. I packed my bags and helped her pack her. Asked the reception to send a boy and went to the reception, signed the bill and paid by the credit card and asked them to call for a cab. I tipped the boy who brought the bags and put them in the cab and rode to the airport. Chapter 10. I got down at the Santa Cruz airport. I booked her a cab and sent her home and took a cab myself and reached home. When I reached home, I was told my father already expired and they will be handing over the body after postmortem as is customary. Many of my father's friends and colleagues reached our home expressing condolences and waiting for the body to arrive. I called and informed Loveline that my father is no more. She said she will come and visit as soon as possible. She was there within 2 hours. I introduced her to my mother, brother, sister and brother-in-law who had just reached from Hyderabad. My brother, being elder, carried the lit pot. We reached the crematorium and my brother lit the fire and I was standing beside him. On the next day, we went and collected the ashes and put them in a pot, which my brother and brother-in-law said they will put in the Ganga River. My boss and colleagues have come and visited and expressed condolences and to ask for any help if required. I said okay. Later my friends came and visited. On the 11th day, we had a function. My father's brothers and sisters have visited with families for the function. The previous day there were some mandatory puja and all. The day we performed puja and went to the seashore and performed the required puja there and returned. There were nearly 1,000 people who had come for the function. My father was very popular with his colleagues and all known people. After all the functions and everyone left for the night. As per rules, nobody can stay the night except close people. The next day my mother was asking about Loveline. I told her, had met at some function and I liked her. My mother called her and spoke to her for some time. As no functions can be performed for a year, my mother asked her if she is willing to wait for a year. She answered in the affirmative. Later I took her to her home and met her parents and spoke to them for some time. In the talks, it has come out that one of my friends was their relative and he is her cousin. They spoke to my friend. He spoke very highly of me and they agreed to our proposal and to wait for a year for the marriage date to be fixed. Part 3. My married life. Chapter 1. It was after 1 year of my father's death. Loveline and I spent all available time together. 2 months after my father's death, we had to vacate the quarters we were staying and my mother went to live with my sister. With the help of my friends, I had taken a flat close to Loveline's house. My brother went away reluctantly to live in a house he purchased in Ulhasnagar. Sometimes Loveline used to accompany me on my tours. We used to spend Sundays and holidays together being with each other, enjoying each other's company. In the 1 year, she tried several fields in working, finally deciding on interior decoration being her field. She was working for a respectable firm and earning a reasonable income. I also started my own software firm with some friends financing, still continuing my job as a manager. 1 year breezed away in a jiffy. Our families sat together and fixed a date for our marriage after 2 months. Then both our families started to make arrangements for the marriage. The important day arrived. Our relatives arrived from different places in India. We had made arrangements for their stay. The ceremony concluded with pomp and gaiety. We planned to go to Ooty for our honeymoon. We went to Chennai by train and proceeded to Ooty from there. We booked a cottage there. We spent 1 week there and returned to Bombay. We brought our own house and gave her an interior decoration job. She decorated the house to her liking. We had the housewarming ceremony 2 months after the wedding. In about 3 months, we started to become busy with our work. I was busy with my job and my software company. We started our project based on a product I had developed. We had good demand for the product. We offer maintenance with our product. We had good turnover for the product. We were starting to get projects for development. We had employed some developers and I was supervising the development work and my partner was involved in getting us new contracts and collections for the work completed. Loveline was planning to start her own interior designing business with her friends. They were willing to invest with her running the show. Nowadays we were getting time to be together only on Sundays. That also we used to spend 2 to 3 hours on the phone discussing our business needs. During the weekdays we used to hardly spend any time together. Some days we hardly see each other. We hardly had been together and it became a regular and a routine. We discussed about having children. She wanted to wait for some time to have her business up and running. We started to become distant with our careers taking our full attention. After 6 months of our growing apart, we realized what is happening and decided we should allot more time for ourselves. We decided to take a week's leave and plan for a tour. It took us 2 weeks to make dates and arrangements and allot time for our tour. We decided to go to Goa. We took a flight and then a cab and reached the hotel. It was on the beachfront. We had our breakfast and went and sat on the beach. After some time, we decided to go into the water. We spent half an hour and came back to the room to have our bath. We ordered some room service and made some calls and enquiring about the work. We sat down and watched some TV. We cozied up to each other and start watching some movies. We were silently watching the movie with our own thoughts. After finishing the movie, we readied and went to the restaurant for dinner. Our conversations were sparse. It was a clear indication that how much afar we grew. Having realized it ourselves, we tried discussing what needs to be done. Just coming for the trip is clearly not working as much as we hoped. We decided to have a tour of the city and asked the desk clerk to get us 2 tickets for the tour. We had a tour of the various places in Goa which culminated in the evening on the ship. We had some drinks, had a light dance and came back to our hotel. As we were totally spent, we had dinner, watched some TV and went to bed. I woke up, had ordered some coffee, brushed my teeth and sat on the balcony with a cigarette. Halfway through my fag, she woke up and came into the balcony. We kissed and I offered her coffee. While sipping coffee we started having a chat. But we had to cut short our trip, as I got a call from our office, as there was some problem with client's software and I am needed immediately. We booked the first available flight and returned to Bombay. As the software contains one proprietary component which can only be rectified by me. I had to go and update the patch and assure the client that this kind of problem will not be repeated. The failed trip has only increased the gap between us. We grew further apart. Within a year we are ready to be separated. We started to live separately. We were planning to file for divorce. I have not yet found anyone, but I heard from a friend that she may be going out with someone from her circle. After having some counseling and some discussions, she was not ready to get together. Maybe her affair had something to do with it. Within the next year, we were divorced. We used to meet once in a while. Then she had opened a branch in Delhi and went over. Then we met rarely, when she visited her office in Bombay or when I went to Delhi. I used to make the effort to go to meet her, as she was my true love and I could not forget her despite whatever happened between us. But she would try to avoid me wherever possible. Chapter 2. Then something unexpected happened in my life. We were conducting interviews for appointing developers for our expansion. Now we were a private company. We took up new investors and registered as a private company. We were planning to expand to other territories. We started a marketing division in Bangalore for covering the southern area. And were planning for other regions. Our software product was a hit with our clients, and clients bring other clients. Then the Y2K bug hit the sentiments of the companies in the USA. Many companies were employing developers for upgrading the systems, even developers with little knowledge. Many companies were outsourcing their upgrade work. Luckily, we caught one such project for upgrading the software. We were given the compiled, running software with sample data and we were asked to develop with the latest technology. So, we were conducting interviews for experienced developers. After preliminary interviews, Joyce was brought to me for the final interview. Her full name was Jocelyn Fernandez. She was 31 years of age. She had worked in the US for the last 7 years and had returned to India due to unavoidable circumstances. She was ready to work with us in our budget, even though it was very low comparing it to her US earnings. Finding her experience compatible with the software technology we planned to be implemented and with her experience, we decided to offer her a team lead position and to put around 10 developers under her. She showed her worth in the first month itself. She took ownership of the product and employed her team judiciously and she brought the project to a workable level. It was as if we were developing the project from scratch. We only know how it works, but the intricacies of the workings had to be understood and put on paper. We were spending a lot of time discussing the intricacies of the project and tools to be used in the development. I was closely following the progress of the development, getting daily reports from her, and discussing the changes to be made to the requirements and workings. As I am thoroughly well versed with the working of the software, I was regularly checking the working of the software and finding the bugs if any, and reported them to her to get them corrected. I have spent some time with the original users to familiarize myself with the workings of their software, before accepting the project. We completed the project within the timeline proposed to the client. We got a good bonus for this from the client apart from receiving our bills in time. I shared the bonus with the team and gave Joyce a sizable portion of the bonus. This brought her trust in me. We had a big party for this occasion and invited the staff from all the branches. Completing this project on time had brought us a lot of goodwill with the clients from the US. Also, the US clients have marked us as reliable and trustworthy vendors. We started to go out occasionally on Sundays and later made it a regular thing. Now we're going steady for over 6 months. I asked Joyce about her past. Why did she return to India from the US? Then she told me about her past. After her degree, she went over to the US for further studies. She joined MS there and by the end of the second year, she met a guy who had completed his MS and working there. She was about to finish her MS and undecided about what to do. He proposed to her after 2 months of dating. After 3 months they were married with the approval of both families. As she was an alone child, her parents said that after them, their assets and everything will pass on to her. Now after marriage, he started showing true colors. He was asking her to give him her salary. When her month's salary is finished, he was asking her to liquidate her stocks. When the stocks dried up, he was demanding she gets money from her parents. He was addicted first to drinks, later he promoted to drugs. He started to behave aggressively and went to the extent of beating her if she did not give him what he wanted. He was suspended from his job, and without any work and income, he became mean. Unable to bear the constant harassment, one day with the help of her friends, she flew back to India. Then through one of her friends, she got a call for this job. I was very sympathetic towards her after hearing her story. Why she would not trust me in the beginning, I thought. She started to trust me when I started to appreciate her work and dedication. By now she was confident that I am a mild-mannered guy but confident of his actions. Who would try to explain rather than shout at the staff. She never saw me raise my voice or act threateningly. We were dating, and spending time together but we kept our physical distance. From my side, I don't want her bad memories to come back to haunt her. I was waiting for her to take initiative in this matter. Chapter 3. We got an invitation to try to bid for a big contract from a U.S. client. We flew to New York. I booked 2 rooms for us. We were there for 2 weeks for going through the project and submit our proposal and timelines for the project. Joyce had a lot of input in the preparation of proposals. She gave achievable timelines without dragging the project over time. Seeing the timelines and project proposals, they have asked us for cost estimates. We gave them reasonable cost estimates, which they had accepted. We got the contract signed. The company gave us a party in honor of signing the contract. We went to the party in the evening. After introductions were over, we took a drink each and went and stood on the balcony looking over the city. We were sipping our drinks slowly and stood silently. Then I heard a voice calling her name from behind. I looked at her. She was frozen. Her face became as white as chalk. From her expression, it is evident that she recognized the voice and she was scared of the person. I moved and I stood in front of her. He was drinking from a bottle. He came forward and looked at her snarling. She cowered behind me, scared. He went around me at a distance and reached the parapet wall. There he smashed his bottle on the wall and came at her threateningly. I sidestepped, pushed her aside, and when he reached me I struck my foot at him. Running into my foot he slipped and fell forward on his own bottle. He must be injured from the bottle. He started making some gurgling sounds. I called for security and they called the police and ambulance. We had to go to the police station and had to give our reports of the incident. Evidently, it was an accident of his own making. They let us go. The next day we went to the courts and she filed for divorce citing yesterday's incident. After completing all the formalities, we returned to India. With the incidents during our trips bringing us together, we started to spend more time together. I purchased an adjoined flat on my floor when it came up for sale, thinking it would be good to combine the flats when the necessity comes up. I asked her to come and stay at the flat, as it will be more feasible to work together and spend more time with each other. Even after becoming neighbors and spending time traveling to and fro from the office, we kept our relationship to a friendly level only. We could save more time discussing the projects while traveling. We were mentally closer than physically. Once I asked her opinion about having children. She had very positive beliefs, unlike Loveleen. She said she was waiting for her divorce proceedings to be completed. When she becomes a free bird, she will think about marriage and having children. Part 4. Joy's murder and after. Chapter 1. After 3 months, Joyce received confirmation from her lawyer about the finalization of her divorce. She called some of her close friends to her flat and cooked for them herself. She was elated that she was rid of the nightmare at last. We were very busy for the next 3 months with the project. As the project was reaching a critical position, we were all very tense, especially her. As the project lead, it was her duty to look at all the aspects of the project. I was not involved with the project as much as before. In the previous project, I had more involvement with checking the completed parts. In this project, I was involved with only passing the requirements and deliverables. Generally overlooking the project but leaving the entire burden on her to deliver the project. We were going together to the office but were not returning together. If I came home first, I used to send her car for picking her up. She was working very hard to complete the project and running the developers to the ground. She was liked by everybody in the team, so they are ready to sacrifice anything to complete the project. I was considering promoting her to project manager and had the papers prepared for her promotion. And then the most unexpected thing happened. Her ex-husband was let off jail by some technicality. He took the next flight and reached Bombay. He had only one thing in his mind: revenge. It was the night of the 31st of December 1999. We were having a party at my house. My flat was on the top floor and I arranged to have a drinks party on the terrace. Everyone was enjoying it. When the time came for the countdown, Everyone was starting to count down. When 12 midnight reached, all around firecrackers started burning with heavy sounds. Someone on the terrace lit some crackers. Each started hugging and wishing each other. I looked around for Joy. She was not found anywhere. I started asking around. One boy said she went down to get some wine. I went down and looked at my flat. She was not there. I pushed her flat door and it swung inside. Joy was in the center of the hall with her throat slit and her ex was sitting beside her in a drug-induced euphoria. He was holding his head between his knees and looking down at the floor. Reacting to the scene, I went to the phone and called for an ambulance and then called the police and explained the situation. Took a wet cloth and put it on her injury. An ambulance arrived in 10 minutes, checked her and said it's very difficult, but gave first aid and took her in the ambulance. Party was forgotten. Everyone came down. I sat down with my chin between my hands. I had sticking pain in the left side of the chest. I caught my chest and fell forward. Somebody called for the doctor. One of the neighbors was a doctor, who came to see what the commotion was about. The doctor checked me and said it seems to be a mild heart attack and called for an ambulance. I was taken to hospital. There I had received the news that she was declared dead at the hospital. I don't know what is happening around me. The doctors gave me a sedative and let me sleep. The next day, January 1st, and as a holiday, the staff members were starting visiting one by one. The board called for an emergency meeting to appraise the situation. They decided that I know the progress of the project and let me decide the future of the project. It took me 2 days to come to my senses and took me a week to recover from the shock. I called her team and promoted her #1 team member to the team lead position. But I know from my heart that no one can fill her position either in the company or in my heart. But I had no other option than to let life go on. Chapter 2. After some time, I decided to rent Joyce's flat. I purchased it with the intention to combine flats. Now as she is missing from my life, I put up an ad for renting the flat. After 2 days someone phoned and I gave them time to come visit the flat. A couple came with their daughter. She is around 15 years of age. They want her to join the college here and to stay near to her college. When my eyes fell on her, I felt as if I had a daughter. She would be like her and felt protective towards her. They called her Preeti. I told her parents that I would look after her like a daughter. They were satisfied with my attitude towards her and let her in my ward and went away. From then onwards I took it upon myself to look after her. I had my driver drop her at the college and pick her up. After the Joyce incident, I started to cut down on my work and let the others take the burden of the work. Now the project is completed, delivered and payment received in full. One burden off my shoulders, I started to take a little easy with the work. After a week, Preeti asked if any of her friends can come and live with her. She had taken permission from her parents also. I agreed to it as she will have some company. Another 2 girls joined her in the flat. After a month, Preeti's auntie had come to visit her at the flat. She rang the bell of my flat. She said she is Preeti's aunt and her name is Pauline. She had come to get the details of the murder that happened in the flat. I explained in detail what happened with Joy. How she was working with me, how I had given her the flat and what happened with her ex-husband and how she was murdered on the night of 31st. I also explained to her how I was affected by what happened and how I am trying to cope with it. She became sympathetic with my condition, how the kids are not affected by living in the flat, and she went away satisfied with the flat. When she was about to go home, she came back to my flat to say goodbye. I asked her if she would like to have a drink, and she agreed to have a glass of wine. I served her and took myself a peg of whiskey and sat down. She asked about me. I told her my details and the company details and what kind of work we do. She listened with full intent and was asking questions in between. We spoke for about 2 hours. After a long time, I spoke with someone and poured my heart out. I asked her if we should go for dinner. She agreed and I called my driver to take out the car and we went to a restaurant and had dinner. While returning, I dropped her at her flat and came back to my flat. Next Sunday, Pauline came to visit Preeti in the morning and afterwards came and visited me. I offered her something to drink. She said she would like to have a coffee. I prepared 2 cups of coffee from filtered coffee. She liked my coffee. It seems it was her first time to have filtered coffee, and I make a mean coffee. We sat and had coffee. As her eyes fell on the packet of cigarettes, I asked her if she would like a smoke. She said okay and took a fag from the pack. I told her I stopped after my heart attack. We sat there looking at each other for some time. I remembered the time I used to smoke with Mahira and felt a twinge in my heart. She seems to have read my mind. She got up and came up to me and kissed me. I caught hold of her and hugged her tightly. She kept her chin on my shoulder and put her hands around me and held me. We stayed for some time like this, and she removed her hand from me and sat beside me. Chapter 3. Pauline started visiting me whenever she was free. I recovered from the trauma myself and started going to the office and trying to immerse myself in the work. As we were expecting a big project from a U.S. client and we were preparing the documentation for the proposal. As she had previous experience with steno work, I asked her to come and join me as my PA. She agreed immediately and joined our firm. Now she is in front of me the whole day. I asked her to come and stay with her niece. We will be a little closer and she can travel with me. Now she is in front of me for a whole day. After reaching home, she used to freshen up and come and sit with me. We used to discuss the pending works and sometimes she used to bring unfinished work home. I gave her a new laptop so she can carry her work with her. She used to have dinner with me and her niece used to have dinner with us. After some time, Preeti's flatmates shifted to another place. When Pauline offered to pay rent, I refused to take it and told her to treat it as her own flat. We used to go on small trips and take Preeti with us. Pauline and Preeti became part of my life. Chapter 4. It was some months after the incident. It was a Sunday. We were all having lunch and discussing the picture we had just seen. When the bell rang, our servant went and opened the door. He asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted to meet me. He called me to say some Loveline came to meet me. I went into the hall, both of them following me. My ex-wife was sitting there. She got up, came to me and hugged me and said, "What you made of yourself? You became so thin," she said, concerned look on her face. I had seen her possibly after 5 years. She was looking as I have seen her last time. The few years we spent together have run through my mind. I introduced my two guests as my PA and her niece, and they were staying in the next flat. The two of them left us alone and went to their flat. She inquired about the incident, referring it to a murder at the New Year party. I don't know how much she knew about my relationship with Joy. I replied to her as cordially as possible. My mind is still on the few years we spent. She said that she wanted to close the office in Delhi and shift to Bombay. She was feeling stifling with the weather of Delhi, too hot and too cold. She planned to continue working with the office here and maybe appoint someone else there. There seems to be some love in her eyes, as if she is reliving the time we spent as I am doing. We kept our chats through tea and snacks, which went into dinner time. I asked her if she would like to go to a restaurant or have home-cooked meals. She said she would like to cook for me and the servant would be helping her in the preparations. I said I will check with the neighbors as we planned for dinner before she came. I went and told them that my ex would like to cook for me. Would they like to come in for dinner? They said they had other plans, as they already fixed dinner with some friends. It seems they want to avoid meeting my ex over dinner. I went back and told her to prepare for us only and sat and looked at some documents sent over by my PA. Made some changes and sent it back to her. After finishing my work, I switched on the TV and started watching a cricket match. After preparing dinner, she said she will freshen up and went into the bedroom. When she left for Delhi, I put all her leftover dresses and clothes in a suitcase and I told her to come and collect them. She must have remembered those dresses and asked me where I kept that suitcase. I showed the suitcase in the guest room and she collected a dress and went to the bathroom and I came back to the hall. She had a bath and she wore the dress she selected from the suitcase. I remembered I brought that dress for her 30th birthday. My mind went to that birthday party. It was the last birthday we celebrated together. By the time of the next birthday she left for Delhi. So many things come flooding my mind. She came and sat beside me on the sofa and kissed me on the cheek. Shall we start dinner or do you want to have a drink before dinner? I asked her if she would like a drink. She said she would. I poured us drinks and we sat down to watch the TV. We slowly sipped our drinks and refilled them again. She wanted a fag. I gave her the packet and told her I stopped after my heart attack. She took a puff and let out the smoke. She sipped a little of the drink and drew smoke and let it out and snubbed the fag in the ashtray. We finished our drinks and went into the dining room. We sat opposite each other and started having our dinner. She was telling me to have this and that and was serving the food items. She knew my likes and dislikes and prepared the food accordingly. I thought of the times we were together and I was eating absent-mindedly whatever she was serving. When I felt I had enough, I told her to stop and went and washed my hands, came back and sat on the sofa. My mind was still in the times after marriage. My heart was crying. I sat silently and looked at the TV without seeing anything. She finished her dinner and came back and sat beside me. She saw the mindset I was in and put her hands around me and pulled me towards her. I put my chin on her shoulder and wept uncontrollably, bringing up all the emotions I had held back for all these years. She took me to the bedroom and laid me on the bed. She covered me with the bedsheet. I said to her, "Don't leave me alone, love." She said she will come in a minute. Went into the hall and switched off the TV and lights and came back to the bedroom. Switched off the lights and came and laid down beside me. I held her hard and went to sleep. When I awoke it was 8 a.m. I must have slept without disturbance after a long time. I got up, went to the bathroom and came out after brushing. She kept the coffee ready for me. We both had coffee silently looking at each other. It seems unbelievable to me. I could not yet believe that my love was sitting in front of me and if I blinked she would disappear. I was just staring at her. She asked what happened. I asked her, "You will not disappear, no?" She said she is not going anywhere. I finished my coffee and handed her the packet of fags. She refused. I dropped the packet on the table. I sat there oblivious to the surroundings. Chapter 5. Bell rang and she went and opened the door. Our servant was standing out with the milk packets. He put the milk packets in the fridge and asked what I would like to have for breakfast. I pointed my finger at Loveline and said she knows what to make. The bell rang again. The servant went and opened the door. My PA walked in and asked me, "Are you not ready? We will be delayed." I said, "I will come in late, you take the driver and go ahead. If I need it I will ask for the car." She took my briefcase as it contains already signed important documents and went away. I sat back on the sofa and looked at the ceiling blankly. My mind was blank. She touched my cheek lightly and went into the kitchen. After sitting there for some time, I went and had a bath and came out wearing something that came to my hand. I went and sat at the dining table. She put something in front of me. I ate it without recognizing what I am eating. My mind was numb and I was in a state of trance. She took me to the bedroom and laid me on the bed. She made love to me. When I am awake it was around 3 p.m. I got up and went to the wash basin, put some water on my face and came to the hall. She was sitting there flipping through some magazines and asked me, "Do you want to have lunch?" I shook my hand and came and sat on the sofa. I felt like I relaxed after a long time, as if I had not slept for a month and now slept to my heart's content. I sat and put my hand on her thigh. She has not moved. I looked into her eyes. Only love can be seen in those eyes. Chapter 6. Loveline asked the servant to call the driver to come to the house. When he arrived, she took him to her place and brought her clothes and required items. She went into the kitchen and spoke to the servant in a hushed voice. "Now I am in no position to care about anything." She told me to get dressed up. I methodically got up and wore whatever is in front of my eyes. She asked the driver to keep the car ready and we went by car to a mall. She took some dresses for me as if I have neglected to do shopping in her absence. It was true, I have nothing new in my wardrobe. From there she took me to a restaurant. She ordered something, I just ate it. After finishing we came back to the house. When we reached home, she told the driver to go back to the office. After some time, my PA came with some papers to sign. Seeing I am in no position to look at the documents, she looked at the documents and gave the documents safe to be signed and put aside others, saying, "He is not feeling well, he will sign tomorrow." My PA threw a glance at me and left. She must have called my friends. One by one my friends started landing at our flat. They used to call her Bobby. When they were asking her what happened, She started scolding them for what condition they left me in. Can't you take care of your friend, when he went through so much? Is this way to care for your friend? Nothing was going into my mind. I was just looking at the person talking, moving my head from person to person. At last, one by one, they left telling me to take care and telling her we will know you will take care of him. It has taken me a week to come out of this. Slowly I gained a full conscience and started to take of myself. After a week, I went back to the office a rejuvenated man. I reviewed the progress of the works. By now it was running like well-oiled machinery. There should be one person to switch on and switch off. Everything runs like clockwork. I reviewed the projects and gave some tweaks where required. Asked for the changes, where required. I was my old self. When I reached home I refreshed and sat on the sofa. She gave me tea and sat beside me and said we should have a baby. I was surprised and said what? She said you heard correctly, we should have a baby. No words came out of my mouth. I just nodded my head up and down in affirmation. Within a week we had a registered marriage with close friends present. She asked my PA and niece to vacate the flat and showed them an alternate flat. She promised them that she will take care of the rent. I was in no mood to mind her actions. She has put her firm to make changes to the flats combining them as one. She got the other flat bedrooms decorated as children's bedrooms. Chapter 7. Within a year we had a son and we named him Atul. The visitors were saying the baby is taken after his mother. He had her looks, which seemed lucky. After a month we arranged a party for Atul's arrival. Parties are considered necessary to meet people and increase our contacts. When our son was 4 years old, we had our second child, who was a baby girl. We named her Joylene and used to call her Joy. We purchased the interior designing company from her partners and registered it as a private company. Now she was appointed a CEO for the company and herself as chairperson. Now we can offer good schools for our children. We can provide them with all the luxuries they needed. The children had their own transportation. They had their own car with a driver to go to school and come back and wherever they want to go, like going to their grandparents. But we did keep them to our hearts. Not to let them feel neglected, we used to spend time with them, enquiring them daily what is happening in their life. Generally keeping a close watch on their life. As they are growing up we kept a close watch on their friends. As friends are most influential in their life and they will have a lot of influence in their formative years, we started to treat them as friends. Giving bits of advice whenever required, refraining when we felt they may not take our advice willingly. Part 5. Loveline dies in an accident and later. Chapter 1. It was 2007. On a rainy night, Loveline met with an accident. We went running to the hospital. She was on her last breath. She took my hand in her hand, said to look after the kids and closed her eyes. Doctors put her on a ventilator. But due to a hemorrhage in the brain, she was declared dead the next day. Now after 6 years I was again left alone by her. It struck me like a blow, but for the kids' sake, I controlled myself and finished the formalities. The kids were at such an age that they could not understand what happened. Joy was looking for her mother. She is just 1 year old and could not ask what she needs. Atul was playing with his toys oblivious to the situation at home. During this, my PA took care of everything as a good PA should act. Pauline was what a good PA one can expect to have. As she was fully aware of my state, she took things at home in her stride and started to act accordingly. She became my right hand during the next few days. Some relatives advised me to marry again for the kids' sake. I did not agree with them. Nobody knows what kind of woman she will be. There were stories of stepmoms treating kids badly. There are a few movies on this. I appointed nannies to look after the kids and gave overall supervision to Pauline. Now instead of coming to the office, she was staying at my home and was looking after the household matters. I gave her an allowance to run the house. I checked for a few days how the nannies were looking after the kids and how Pauline was supervising them. Satisfied, I left her to do the things her way. She shifted and started to stay in Joy's room in the children's wing. Chapter 2. I was more than ever dependent on Pauline. She was practically running my house. Kids started calling her mom. And she acts like a mom, telling everyone she encounters referring to them as her children. As before, I kept my distance from her. After marrying Loveleen, I have not touched any other woman. I called my old friends Raj, Krishna, Shekhar and Harry to have a party. I have not been in touch with others from the colony. We drank until late in the night. I asked my driver to drop them off, and they all stay near to one another. After a long time, I had one too many drinks. As I was walking in a stupor, Pauline came over and caught me and took me to my room. She laid me on the bed. With all the drinks I had and with the talks with my friends about Loveleen, I was in such a state, I had thought Loveleen was standing before me. I told Pauline, don't go away, leaving me alone. She said, I will not go anywhere, and sat on the bed consoling me. I caught hold of her hand, put it on my chest and closed my eyes. That is the last I remembered what happened. I opened my eyes and looked at the watch. It is 6 a.m. I turned around on the bed. Pauline was sleeping beside me on her inner garments. I looked at myself. I had only on my underwear. I tried to think about what happened. All I remembered was Loveleen was standing in front of me. I was holding her hand and telling her not to go away, leaving me alone, and holding her hand to my chest. I got up and went into the bathroom, relieved, and had brushed my mouth and went to the kitchen. I prepared a cup of coffee, brought it to the hall and sat down on the sofa. Absent-mindedly I picked up a fag and lit it and took a drag. I stopped smoking, but I keep a packet for visitors. Being smoking after a long time, a little cough escaped my throat. I snubbed the fag in the ashtray. I sat sipping coffee. Pauline got up, came out of the bedroom and went to the children's bedrooms on the other flat through the opening connecting both the flats. She looked at them, finding them still sleeping, went into the kitchen and bought herself a coffee and sat beside me. Normally she would sit on the other sofa. I did not say anything, just staring at the coffee mug. She asked me, are you having a hangover? I said no. She heard the sounds from the children's bedroom and went over there. I got up, took a bath and readied myself and went into the dining hall. Pauline was preparing the breakfast and put it in front of me. Methodically I ate it and went into the hall. Took the daily newspaper and started reading it. After finishing the paper, I threw it on the teapot and went into the dressing room. At the time of renovation, Loveleen made the second bedroom a dressing room, with cupboards and all. I dressed up and came out to the hall and sat down. Called the driver to come up. He came up, took my briefcase and we went to the office. After a long time, I was early to reach the office. Went into my cabin and started looking at the documents. I worked for an hour at a stretch. I was signing the approved documents, making changes where required and completing half the pile of documents. I asked for a cup of tea, had tea and started to attack the documents. It took me 2 hours to complete all the documents. I got up and went to the development area, had a talk with the project manager and checked the progress of the projects. Finding Pauline's niece Preeti, I went and had a word with her. After completing of degree, Pauline had her appointed in the firm. Preeti was asking about the kids. I said they are doing fine under her aunt's care, and asked her to my cabin for a cup of tea. I asked her opinion of Pauline looking after the kids, looking for any deception in her voice. She said she loves them and looks at them like her own kids. I asked her if she would like to come and stay with us for some time. She said she would prefer her present accommodations. I told her she can go to her seat. I called the lawyer and sat and thought about the future course of action. When the lawyer came, I explained to him what is required of him. I asked him to prepare a trust fund in the name of the children, with substantial stock and fixed deposits, so they will not face any hardship in any event, and asked him to prepare my will providing for Pauline and balance to be transferred to the kids in the event of my death. I told him that if Pauline agrees, I would like to marry her. Prepare the documents and keep them ready. As I have not talked about marriage with Pauline, I would like to finalize the documents after consultation with her. I recorded the whole conversation and gave him a copy in case needed in the future. Chapter 3. After completing the other engagements, I went home. I called Pauline and had a long talk about marriage, kids and if she would like to have her own kids. I asked her opinion of the will. I asked the lawyer to be prepared. She agreed to the marriage proposal and said she loves the kids and she would not like to have further kids. About the will, she is satisfied and asked me to put a clause after her. Her share should go to the kids. I called the lawyer and explained the changes required in my will and also prepare a prenuptial agreement to be prepared. He said he will make the required changes and will bring the will to be signed tomorrow. I called our purohit and asked him to fix a date for our wedding. Pauline was calling her parents and her niece and spoke to them about the wedding. She prepared and sent her resignation to the HR manager. She was still working on the company payroll on deputation to my home. We both prepared ourselves for the future and awaited the wedding day. Part 6. Married Life with Pauline. Chapter 1. The year 2008. We had a simple wedding with close relatives and friends from both sides and our office staff, who were known to both of us. Atul is now 6 years old and Joy is now 2 years. Atul is now in first grade. Joy, we are thinking of putting in play school after the summer holidays. Pauline slept in the bedroom with me for some days and went back to her room. I kept my physical distance from Pauline. Now she is sleeping with Joy, and Atul is in the other room. Pauline is fully involved with the kids. I am continuing with my work. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months and months turned into years. I kept a close watch on the activities of both the kids. Closely watching their activities, if they are moving from their path, I would be ready to bring them back to their path. I asked Pauline to join the board of directors for Loveline's interior decoration company. In her free time, she can look after our interests in the company. She agreed to it as she will not be confined at home. Her experience as PA will come to some use. Chapter 2. The year 2017. Atul is now in 10th grade, and Joy is in 7th grade. Joy is more studious than Atul. Atul seems to have lost interest in the studies somewhere along the way. Everyone says to him, "Now you are in 10th, concentrate on your studies." I told him don't worry about what others are saying. Study as you like. When you see your marks in internals, you will know how much you need to concentrate. Extracurricular activities are as much important as studies. Concentrate on things which you think require your attention. Think both from your heart and mind. There should be some balance between studies and other activities. They say you need work-life balance. You need studies and other activities balance. We will have this talk about your studies on New Year's Eve. Or you can make a New Year's resolution about studies then. Chapter 3. April 2018. Exams being finished. Atul is now relaxed. All his friends decided to celebrate the successful completion of exams. Atul asked for permission to use terrace for the party. I agreed, thinking they will be having a party close by. With Pauline's supervision, they got all the dishes prepared. They ordered cool drinks for the party. Being at home, they all know no hot drinks will be permitted. At around 11:30 p.m. a girl from their group fell over the parapet wall of the terrace. Nobody seems to have watched what happened. Everyone's saying they did not see anything. Police and ambulance were called. Police took statements from all the persons present. Her details came out the next day. Her name is Neha. She is from a middle-class family. Her father works in a private firm as an accountant. She has a younger sister. If someone pushed her, she doesn't seem to have any enemies. For jumping herself, she did not have any problems. If it seems to be an accident, the parapet wall is not of short height. Everyone's perplexed by the incident. What? Why? How? The only thing known is when. Chapter 4. S.I. Narendra Chauhan was given the case of jumping girl, which is what the newspapers have named the case. From the statements taken by the police, no clues could be found. After 3 days, her postmortem report was given to the police. Unknown to us then, the report states that she was 10 weeks pregnant. The fetus was sent for a DNA test. It did not match anyone present on the scene. Police started collecting DNA from known men in her life. Like friends and relatives who have visited them recently or known their family. 3 months passed and there were no clues as to the father of the fetus. Now, under these circumstances, police have concluded that it is either murder or suicide. Either murdered by the father of the fetus or she committed suicide unable to bear the news of being pregnant. When they got the call log of her phone, she received a call from someone just before the incident. What is the significance of the call? When they checked with the owner of the cell, he said when he was returning from work, he found a girl on the side of the road who borrowed his phone saying her scooter stopped and her phone's battery is dead. She wanted to make a call for help. He had given her and she made a call and gave the phone back saying someone will be coming. When he asked did she need any other help, she said no, you can go ahead. He went on his way. Now the question is who is this girl? Why did she make the call? What she spoke to her made her kill herself if it is a suicide. Or if it's murder, what is the significance of the call? So many unanswered questions. Now police started going through the CCTV footage of the areas she would frequent. No luck there, she did not meet anyone who looks like a suspect. Last year June month her birthday was celebrated by the group members in a posh restaurant. They got their first clue there on the CCTV's footage. An unknown person had come and wished her. He was not known to anyone in the group. He was not from their school. He appeared around 25 years of age from a well-to-do family from his appearance. After verifying with the staff of the restaurant and checking the CCTV footage of the parking, it was found he was using a bike. After verifying all the vehicles parked against owners, it was found that one Binay seems to be a possible suspect. After deep diving into his activities and credit card bills of Binay, it was found that he was regular at a 3-star hotel. He regularly rents and brings girls there. After checking the CCTV footage of the hotel, police found some girls he brought there and after making discreet inquiries with the girls, finally, a total picture of his activities has come out in the open. Binay's time pass is to trap innocent girls and take them to the hotel. If they agree to his demands he would satisfy his needs, take some videos of them and threaten if they come out in the open, he will release their videos. If they don't agree with him, he would use other methods like using date rape drugs. With this girl, he used the drug on her and he forgot about her after that. When she called him after 3 months with the news that she is pregnant with his child, he was surprised. When she threatened him with exposing him, he panicked and gave a contract to a professional killer to finish her off. The killer was hiding behind water tanks and made his accomplice, the girl, call her and come to the water tanks. When she came there he closed her mouth and pushed her from the terrace. He came to the first floor and escaped from there without being recorded on the CCTV. After exposing Binay, many girls he blackmailed have come forward to give statements. This way Binay is now in jail without bail waiting for his jail term to be finalized. Chapter 5. In the meantime, SSC exam results have come and Atul got B grade in the SSC exams. Based on his marks, he decided he would go for the commerce stream. He joined in 11th standard commerce, maybe do BCom with computer and do MBA later. Joy is in 8th. Now Joy wanted her own room, so Pauline started to sleep in my room on a separate bed. She got another bed put in the dressing room also. Our life became a routine. As children are grown up, she used to have more time to herself. She made her own routine of kitty parties, meeting friends at restaurants and clubs and also attending board meetings with Loveline's company. Once in a while, I heard rumors of her meeting someone. I did not give much thought to it. If she wants to spend some time with someone, it is her choice. At the end of the day, she will return home, that is, I am confident. As long as I don't corner her about her actions, she would be loyal to the children, that is all I wanted. When Joy's friends come for studies, they find the hall good for studies. Atul would hardly be at home. Pauline would sit them, help them in their studies. She had given tuitions when she was in college. She would prepare snacks for them and generally look after them. Joy's friends prefer our home to other homes for combined studies. They don't mind seeing Atul once in a while. He was courteous with them and they would like to make friends with him. Chapter 6. The year 2018. Now Joy was in 9th and Atul was in 12th. Now Atul was more interested in sports. He with his friends made a cricket team and they used to participate in different matches being held around Mumbai. Every Sunday one place or other some tournament used to be run. You have to pay admission fees. These they are not short of. There are many kinds of tournaments, like 10 overs, underarm, single innings, etc. Joy is going in another direction, fashion. She is more interested in fashion and would go to Fashion Street and would spend hours looking through the wares displayed there. If she finds something that caught her eye, she would bring them. Chapter 7. The year 2019. Atul completed his 12th and joined BCom Computers, and Joy is in 10th. This year she put all her other activities and started to concentrate on her studies. A new girl joined Atul's class. She was pretty and Atul had his eye on her. While returning home in the evening, Atul's eyes caught her walking home. He asked the driver to stop beside her and asked her to get in. "We will drop you." She said no problem, her brother was supposed to pick her up and he was delayed. "I will take an auto," she said. "No worries, I will drop you wherever you are going." She got in the front and sat beside the driver. Joy said, "Hi, I am Joy, Atul's sister, and you are?" She said, "I am Molly. I am in your brother's class." When her house arrived, she said, "Stop here, this is my building." Atul said, "See, it is not a problem. It is in our way. Whenever you want you can ride with us." Joy said, "You are welcome to ride with us. We will have some company." Molly said thanks and went into the building. Atul said, "Let us go to the driver." Next Saturday, driver asked for a day off as he had some emergency work. Pauline offered to drop and pick up the kids. While returning they found Molly walking on the road. This time Joy asked her mother to stop. Molly got in the car and said to Pauline, "I am Molly." Pauline said, "I am their mother." Molly looked at the kids and Pauline and said, "They don't look like your kids. Did they take after their father?" Pauline said, "No, I am not their biological mother. After their mother passed away I looked after them as my kids." Molly said, "Sorry, I did not know, don't mind my words." Pauline said, "It's okay. Very few people know it. Even though I did not give birth, they are my kids only." Molly said, "How you are driving today?" Pauline said, "The driver took a day off, so I took it upon myself to drive them. Their father does not let them drive from and to college. At other times he let Atul drive once in a while." Molly asked what their father does. Pauline said he has a software firm. Atul interjected them and asked Molly, "Do you want to come to the cricket match tomorrow? It is in our area only." Molly said, "Okay." Atul said, "I will pick you up at 9 a.m. Molly said, "So early?" He said, "Tomorrow the matches are starting a little late because we gotta buy, otherwise we would be there at 7 a.m. Molly's house has come close and she asked Pauline to stop and got down and said to Atul, "See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Atul asked her to give her mobile number. "I will call you before leaving." Atul noted her number on his mobile. She said bye to Pauline and went away. The next day Atul got ready by 8:30 a.m. He came to the dining room and had breakfast, and said to Pauline, "Okay, bye, I will be going to matches." She asked, "Do you want me to drop?" "No," he said, "I will take the bike." She said, "Okay." He collected bike keys from the stand and went down to the parking space. He started the bike and called Molly and said, "I am starting, be there at the gate." By the time he reached her building, she was standing at the gate. Seeing Atul, she came out, looked at the bike and sat behind him. They drove to the cricket stadium. It is not a big stadium, but for the matches these people play, it is big enough. Atul told her to sit in the stand near their group. Parked his bike and came over. He introduced the group members. There were some girls other than players. Molly went and sat beside the girls. Asked them, "Do you come for every match?" They said mostly they don't miss matches. She said it is her first match. She said, "I am in Atul's class." They all seemed to be from well-to-do families, she thought. They were all shouting at their team players as if they know them for a long time. Molly thought they must be old friends. It seems they all are from different streams of studies. But they must be meeting at these matches. She thought about who could be Atul's girlfriend. She looked at each girl and decided none of them seemed to be his girlfriend. Maybe he does not have a girlfriend. Now Atul came to bat. All the girls started shouting, "Atul, Atul." He must be their favorite batsman. He played until the innings ended. They seemed to have made a good score. Now the opposition team has come to bat. After 2 overs Atul came to bowl. He must be a fast bowler, Molly thought. In the first over itself, he has taken 2 wickets. In another 5 overs opposition has lost all the wickets and Atul's team has won the match. Atul came over to Molly and said, we will have a match after 2 hours. Let us go and have something. He said to others, I will come back in an hour. He took her to the parking, and both of them went to a nearby restaurant. There he asked her what she would like to have. She said something light. He ordered for both of them and asked her, how is the game? Seems good. This is my first time watching from the stands. I watched matches on TV. Molly asked him, is your girlfriend in the group? He said, I don't have a girlfriend. Do you remember the murder case from 2 years back, where a girl was thrown from the terrace? She said, yes. I remember the rapist who used drugs to rape girls. He was caught by the police. Yes. In that case, he said, she was from our group. After the incident, I could not bring myself to get close to any girl. After seeing you, I felt I could make friends with you. Then the waiter brought their order and placed it in front of them. They started to eat. Atul said, when I saw you the first time, I felt something. I felt confident in myself. I could not explain it, but I felt if you were with me, I could do anything. Molly said, yeah. They finished their food and Atul paid for the bill. They got up and came out. Molly said, we still have some time. Shall we go for a round on the bike? I like to ride on the bike. He said okay, and they made rounds for some time and came back to the grounds. The match going on is almost finished. The next match was theirs. They called for a toss. Atul's team won the toss. They elected to bat. They batted first, gave the other team a target, which the other team could not achieve, and they won the match. Atul said to Molly, you are our lucky mascot. We won 2 games in a row. We will have matches next week. Let us go. They both went to the parking and he started the bike and asked Molly, do you want to come to our house? She said yes. I would like to meet your mom once more. It feels like I made a connection with her. He said okay, and they went home. He parked the bike in its parking space and they both rode in the elevator to the top floor. He opened the door to the second flat and said, this is our flat. She looked at the flat and said, oh, big flat. She looked at the opening to the second flat and asked, what is there? He said, that is the main house. These are our rooms. He took her to his room and showed her his collections. He knocked on the second room and said, this is Joy's room. She called from inside to come in. They opened the door and said, say hi to Molly. Molly said hi to Joy and Joy said hi to Molly. Atul said, come. She wants to meet mom. They all went to the other flat. Pauline was making lunch in the kitchen. Molly said, hi, Pauline. Pauline said, hi, come let us have lunch. And said Joy, call your dad for lunch. Joy went and called me for lunch. I went and Atul said, Dad, meet Molly. She joined our class. We are just coming back from the cricket match. I inquired about Molly's family during lunch. She said her father is a project manager with a software company. She has an elder brother. He is doing his final year BTech. I said okay. So, we chatted during lunch. After finishing our lunch, we came to the hall. Molly said, very good taste in designing the house. Who did it? I said Joy's mother was an interior designer. She did the 2 flats. Molly said, the taste can be seen here. Molly looked at Pauline. Pauline said, it is not me. Their biological mother, Loveleen, did this. Molly said, oh. I thought after so many years we remembered Loveleen, even though her every memory is in this house. Myself, I have not forgotten her. Whenever Pauline comes near me, I remember the time spent with Loveleen and I keep her at arm's length. Pauline must have understood me by now. She wouldn't bring up her name and would not speak about her in front of me. Kids also almost forgot her, only remember her on her birthday, when we remember and give her respects. Joy's friends have come for combined studies, so she went to the other flat. Molly and Pauline were discussing something seriously. Somehow, they connected and were chatting. Atul said he is going to meet his friends. Molly asked, can she come with him? He said she can. Atul said just a minute and went to his room. On the way, Joy's friends said hi to Atul. Atul said hi to them and went into his room and collected his jacket and came out. Her friends were looking at him adoringly. He said bye to them and came into the other flat and said to Molly to come, and they both went away. Seeing Atul leaving with a girl, her friends asked Joy, who is she, his girlfriend? Joy said they are classmates. As much as I know, they are just friends now. They both took the bike and went to their regular meeting place. There were already 5 guys and 4 girls were waiting. Atul got down from the bike and said to them, "What's doing?" They said, "We are planning to go to a movie. How about Kabir Singh?" They all agreed to go. Someone checked and found tickets available and booked them. For the first show there is still some time, so what should we do? Let us go to our regular restaurant and spend some time there. They went there, ordered some drinks and were chatting. At another table 4 guys were sitting. They were glaring at our group. Atul thought, why are they glaring at us? They should look after their business. After some time, a guy stormed into the restaurant, went to the group and spoke to them. They pointed towards us. He came to our table and caught Molly by hand and dragged her away. The group were stunned. Molly was telling something like, "Listen, brother," then we understood that he is her brother and he is angry with her for some reason. One guy from their group went to the other group and asked what happened. One of them said, "I saw his sister and rang up and told him. He came and took her away." They decided to go to a movie without Molly. They called another member and if she is free she can come to the movie. That girl agreed and they went to the theater and met the girl there and all of them went inside. As the movie running, Atul was getting affected by the movie, and everything is happening in his life. After the movie is completed everyone went their way and Atul came home and told Pauline what happened at the restaurant. She said she will see what she can do. The next day she went over to Molly's house. I don't know what she spoke to them about. In the afternoon Molly was at the college. When Atul asked her what happened, she replied, "Nothing much, there is no problem." In the evening she waited for them to drop her at home. From then on Molly's attitude towards Atul has changed. She was trying to hang out with him more. Whenever possible she was coming to their house. She would sit with Pauline and chat with her. Chapter 8. The year 2020. There were reports of coronavirus infections from China and cities were quarantined. Indians were returning to India from China, jeopardizing their studies. When the exams time came, SSC exams were cancelled and later they were declared based on other criteria rather than final exams. As expected, Joy got an A+ grade. The total country was put under quarantine. People were not allowed outside. Everyone has to wear face masks. Companies were shut down. Wherever possible people were working from home. Generally, the whole country was shut down. Only emergency services and food processing units were running. Molly brought some of her things and came to live with us. She was sleeping in Joy's room. During this time, Joy and Molly became close. Theaters were closed and people started to depend on OTT platforms for entertainment. Amazon, Netflix and other OTT apps have become necessities. Generally, the whole economy came to standstill. We had to pay our employees without having any work done. We could differ salaries for trainees and on-probation employees by paying reduced salaries. But our permanent employees we had to pay full salaries. Some were working from home, contacting clients and taking their requirements and doing maintenance tasks. It is a new experience for them. In 15 days, everything came to be streamlined. We were totally dependent on the internet and phones. Many online meeting apps came into being used. Earlier Skype was used, now Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp etc. were being used extensively for everyday needs. Colleges started with online classes. Online became the new normal. People started to make their own food. Maids were mostly not allowed in housing societies. People's lives were running haywire. When the lockdown was lifted, we decided to continue our work from home routine for some more time. The whole year 2020 continued this way, work from home. Over time we had to relieve the temporary staff. Even though the lockdown was partially lifted, the caseload has not gone down. Chapter 9. The year 2021. When we thought corona cases would go down after the vaccine was introduced for frontline warriors. And then people started getting vaccinated. We checked out accounts at the end of the year. After cutting down on the staff and working from home by the developers, we just broke even. We were happy we did not run into heavy losses. We retained our clients and developers. Now the staff is reluctant to return to the office. They say they are saving so much time traveling, which they can put to good use. They have a valid point. But those who can't work without supervision are the main problem. From April, Corona's caseload increased. We are still trying to cope up with the corona. We have to wait and see when the corona can be put behind. What we can do is wait and see. Completing my dictation, I send the file to my assistant to take the recordings and prepare the documentation. Epilogue. The 1st of January 2021. I heard the doorbell ring and went and opened the door. A man was standing outside with an invitation in his hand. I opened it and looked at the invitation card inside. You are cordially invited with family to the New Year function at Hotel Taj, Mumbai on the 9th of January 2021. Attendance is compulsory. Invited by Kumar's Grand Alliance. RSVP 7893642582. I asked the man standing outside, what is this? He said, as mentioned in the invitation, attendance is compulsory. I called the number on the card. The call answered and said, yes, Mr. Kumar, are you available to attend the function? I asked, what is this function? He said, we are facilitating you to meet all your friends and family members. I said, okay, I will be coming. He said, don't forget to bring your family. I said, okay. To be continued.